All right. Wait for this thing to load. All right. I just wanted to have a holy conversation today. I'm going to do the Lord's Prayer. Our Father in heaven, honored be thy name. May thy kingdom come. May thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us each day our daily bread. Forgive us of our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us on a righteous path and guard us from the evil one. In your name we pray. Amen. 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 All right, so shalom, shalom, family, shalom, shalom. So just taking a day to just have a whole conversation on matters on what's going on in the world. You know, we know that the world that we live in is changing, so we have to be very alert of certain things. But I guess I just wanted to have a simple, holy conversation on something that I have a passion for. I'm starting to build a more of a passion for it. The reason why is because I feel His Word alive. The more I study history, the more I look at how people are connected, I start to understand the world more. Right? Because before it all was like a jumble. Like what's going on? Like people started off in Africa, right? They started down here. Actually, based on the biblical narrative, after everyone left the ark, they settled at Shinar. Everyone was over here in this area, which we can find a lot of evidence for. A lot of people being in this area over here, and some had went down. So that's important to note that if you find lineages over here, that means they came from over here. That's important. So if we have that understanding, that's very important. Once that's understood, you can get a good understanding on what's going on in this world. I just knew this for a long time that the world we live in had a lot of deceits, right? It's one thing, when you're on this side of the world, it's a little more order, right? Because like even when you think about when is the Sabbath, right? If you're on this side of the world, the Sabbath is a different time than if you're on this side of the world, all right? Because it's gonna be morning over there and night over here, and when it's night over here, it's morning over there. So it's a really interesting thought, because the distance, and then you have one place that's is dark at that time, and one place is morning, right? No one could deny that. I know individuals that it'll be right now is night, but for some it's morning, and that's one of those things. It's really interesting, when you think of that. It's really really interesting when you think of that. But I just wanted to pop on and just have a holy conversation today. Just have a refreshing, holy conversation. So I just wanted to just talk about what's going on in the world. It's just one of those things that we can't escape. We're in the world. You know, not that we're in the world or of the world. Let's not be of the world or do the things of the world, but observe the world, but not be one with it. So the more I look at history, the more, because I remember when I was younger, when I looked at the map, it used to look so jumbled. Like it just looked like what is going on? What is all this? And then you just take what people are telling you. They say, oh, this whole continent was just a people that was, mostly just evolved. And then over here is where the biblical story is talked about. And then over here is just, to say Europe, or they would say that when you're in school, like there's just the upper nations and everything like that, and then the modern nations, the ones that were later colonized and stuff. It's like the simple gist of it, But then when you start getting like detailed pinpoints of places and stuff, when you start like really get into what's going on, it's interesting when you compare history to like the time scale of like what's the word I'm looking for, like genetics and things like that, the time scale of stuff, and then looking at the biblical narrative and everything moving as it was written. Right? There's also a little in between things that's known, like this little spot right here. I'm gonna synthetic Sunday this Sunday. I'm gonna talk about something really interesting. and it has to do with this interesting spot right here. This wasn't like this before. A long time ago, this actually was green, and this actually made a big impact on migration of these areas. It made a big impact of migration of these areas. So it's a very deep one that's worth talking about. So, and it has to do with it's going to be connecting. I'll be honest, it's going to be all about E1B1A. It's going to be all about the migration, how they left the original E1B1 and their brother clad the E1B1B, and they went downwards down this river down here, and then there was a large, basically they call it desertization, where basically the area was becoming like a desert, and it cut off, it cut off a lot of people, and it separated people, and it had some over here, but there's evidence of some being separated, being over here and going upwards, and then going throughout these lands, and that's why I talk about Sunday, and it has to do with a video that one of the brothers had made, and I noticed on his graph when he had made it in the Neolithic time, a lot of E1B1s were up here, and I suspected that because during the desertization, I suspected that E1s would go up, and that's what I saw on there, and I saw a bunch of different E1s, and I was like, okay, that's a sign of the movement, because I already knew that E1B1B was over here, and because of that effect, a lot of them went up, and you'll see a lot of E1B1B in these areas. So some of the E1B1A caught a ride with them. And they moved up, and some curved around. So by the Bronze Age, when they got here again, when they went back around and they got here in the Bronze Age, some went over here too in the Bronze Age and in the Neolithic time. It was all over these areas. But in the Bronze Age, which we'll look at Sunday, I'm gonna go over Sunday, they landed in Israel. So we can find them in Israel at that time, and we can note the way they left. They went down the river, and they hit the desertization that hit at that time, and some was here, some was here already, some was all the way down here, some was already down here. They went down the little river, and we know because E1B1B connects to them, and we know humans didn't start down here. That's very important to know, right? They are down there, but you got to get the out of Africa idea out of your head and think humans didn't start down here. The biblical narrative makes that extremely solid right after they got off the ark, right? They was at Mount Ararat. And what's important about Mount Ararat is that we see Mount Ararat talked about in other places in the Bible. Still talking about that it's over there where Armenia is. But another important point is that they say all the nations all together went to Shinar, the place in Babylon. Not just that. One of the biggest things about all that is that since we know that everything was happening over here, the migration is evidence that the people that migrated down here would be tied together. That's very important. But we got to note you know, every monophyletic group, or, we got to note the family, the individual family. That's very important, so that we're not like just blending things together. But it's clear. It's so clear. Once you like see that, it's so clear what's going on in the world. It's so clear. It's just clear, you know. So I just wanted to talk about that because I think that these things are important. I think a clear picture is important. I think it's very important to have a clear picture. So that's the goal. That's the goal. The goal is to bring out something really interesting this Sunday, and on a major topic. I think it's gonna be one that maybe it'll be one of our last ones before I get a little more deeper and looking at some other things to see what can I find. Looking at some other things like E1A stuff like that. Trying to see what's going on with that. It's really interesting. But this one was really interesting when I seen his video, and then I reflected on this interesting find with Sumer, connecting Sumer and this individual that we seen here in about 45,000 years ago, or 45,000 BC, pretty much. And pretty much group here went downwards. Some went down and some went over here. So it's just like they went out and they shot out this way. And that's what I'm gonna talk about. Pretty much the group that left Sumer in their origin, and then they went here and they actually went downwards. Some went here into this area, into this lower area, but some went over here. Some spread this way, and some spread this way. And we know it's also in connection with the Shemitic language, which is very, interesting because the Shemitic language went south. We know that that had happened, that the Shemitic language went southward. So it's one of those things that when the time comes, it's gonna be really deep. I think. I put some information on some notes. This one, I think this one is the one I'm working on right now on E. So I'm gonna break down this little video and talk about the little find that he has there in the Bronze Age. So it's very important. I'm actually contacting the family tree or the genetic company because it's all clear when he showed the Neolithic time frame. They wasn't yet down here. They were moving, and some got some. No, in fact, they were down. They were like down here. They went actually to the bottom. The E lineage left with E1B1B and the A. Some of the A. So Hamites and Shemites were moving downwards, and they end up getting cut off from the desertization. And some of them were down here, and some of them were over here, and then they went on the top area up here. Some was over here. Before there was some here, and that's important because we didn't have any in the Levant in that area, because we know that there were certain Shemites in this area, but the scripture has a very interesting way of stating it. It says it will say this. It's in the part of Amos. I think I forget what scripture, which verse it is, but it goes like this. It says, "Then I call the Philistines from Captor," right? So the Philistines from the north, right? The Philistines from Captor, and then he says, right, and it, obviously Israel from Egypt, right? Egypt, that's right here, right? That's Africa, right? Did he call Israel from Egypt? And then he says something interesting. He says the Syrian or Syria, the person over here. He said, didn't he call them from Ker? So it's like barely a movement of that one. What it's saying is that the Syrian, the one who's of Syria, and that's the 1B1B one, because when you link that, that's saying basically one of the Shemitic lineages, and it's saying that they were settled here. That's important because so connect the E1B1B with the movement of E1B1A, all of it aligns because the E1B1B that went over here, we know without a doubt that that group, and I'm gonna talk about that because it's really deep. That group went upwards. That group went upwards, and I'm gonna show the locations and everything for that in the time frame. The time goes perfectly, right? E1B1B went downwards. What's interesting is a lot of people think that humans started over here, so they'll put E1B1A coming from over here, and E1B1 and A, which that's the Hamitic lineage, the real Hamitic lineage. A coming from over here, but really, remember, everyone start came from this area, right? So they actually went downwards. The reason why that's important is because what they try to do is make E1B1A and E1B not related. It's very subtle, but that's what they try to do. They try to make E1B1B and E1B1A not related, but these are related. These are actually a monophyletic group. They're one family. These are more related than any on this. There's also some Japhetic lines that went down. That's one thing that's not really talked about a lot. There is a group called the Chads. They are a you would say Japhetic group, and they went downwards, right? They know that they went downwards too, in the groups that went downwards. It's very important. It basically let us know that during the movements of them all, during the different movements of them all, there was also other groups going down there. There was also other groups that were going down there. That's very important because we know that's what happened at the Tower of Babel. They went down, and then so you see this area here, desertization happened, right? It's a very important event that had happened, right? It's a real event. That's what actually this is. Just talking about that. And I'll talk about the time frame. All everything pins out perfectly it should, as it should. They went downwards, and then the desertization happened, and it caused them to separate, and some to settle in different areas, forcing them some to split to over here, and some upwards. So the desertization was separating them and causing some to settle in Africa, and that's why we have a lot of Shemites and Hamites in Africa because of the desertization that caused many to stay down there. And note, you also have your R lineages down there. So that's just something else to note. It's actually a real event that happened. And that what's important about that is that, like I said, that event forced them upwards, right? Upwards. And that's what I'm going to talk about tomorrow. Well, not tomorrow. Sunday. I'm just gonna, make some notes to refine it. Shalom, shalom, family. Shalom, shalom. Just having a holy conversation, not really a major deep study, just talking about what I'm gonna do Sunday a little bit. And, you know, if anyone got anything, to talk about or anything to add, I will definitely talk about that or anything, what it may be, if it's holy. Not gonna talk about everything. But I'm gonna talk about this in the right season because I feel it's very important to know the truth. And the truth is free and is vast. It's vast right now. It's vast. Now I'm gonna go down. The reason why is because, like I was saying, with that desertization, right? It's causing the people to go upwards, right? They gotta leave. You know, they're getting not enough room. They expand, and then later on, that's when you see your E1B1B up here, over here. And I'm gonna talk about that too. We know it's true because we get E1B1A and E1B1B moving. Then you should see some female lineages, and that's what they see. They see different lineages that's moving there. This is some. I'm gonna talk about this that season, but let me see where I have that. Let me see here. Yeah, and I'm gonna talk about some very interesting things, some very 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 interesting things that is interesting to talk about. Like, for example, the the way we know Natufians are Shemites because the Shemites were mingling with the Japhanites that were higher up, and they were mixing with the females, and they had the females. And it's important to note that those females were moving when they were in the Levant. When the Natufian was in the Levant, those females were there. And I'm gonna show you this reading that says these Natufian had blue eyes, and a lot of them had light skin. These certain ones. There's some with darker skin, like right here. I'm gonna read this little thing here. It's a report about basically, that area that's placed basically is Spain, right? They basically were going up and going to Spain, and that's basically what it is. They was over here settling in basically Spain. You can see here, they was going to Spain, but we know they had connections over here, but they were going to Spain, and we know that they went into Spain, and the females went to Spain, and it all happened about like the same time. Is really interesting. So I'm gonna talk about, like, it happens at the same time. We'll show on, remember that little graph we did? Let's see if I can get it. So I was making a little graph, and let me see right here. Yeah, there it is. So remember, I was making this little graph here, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show how it moved throughout all time until it gets to the Bronze Age. because we find E1B1A in the Bronze Age. We do. We find E1B1A in the Bronze Age, but throughout the Middle Ages, these middle parts, because a lot of people they were looking for E1B1A in these Middle Ages, but you got to note the migration, what happens, right? And that's important. That's very important because especially when we note the place of origin is outside of Africa, then everyone inside of Africa traveled inside Africa from far away. That's important. They actually traveled inside Africa from far away. That's very important. But this is what it says in the results. It says the L3F variant found, right, basically in these groups, right? This is going to be that place in Spain. It says basically it's related to those African lineages, and that's important with the also West African. And it talks about it happened, and we're going to talk about it 8,000 years ago and everything, and we're going to talk about some of the things that's going on there, um, and how it connects the groups. Basically says the results are basically letting us know that the Neolithic connections between the Southern Europe and Western Africa, right? It's going to let us know the connections, and I'm going to show you. We'll go a little deep in it on Sunday, which might be key to the proper understanding of the ancient link between these two continents. So it's really interesting. It's a really deep one, and it's really interesting. We're noting because that's what happened. The desertization, it pushed everyone in different places, and then you get certain groups there. E1B is going to be a separation of different groups, but some blended together, right? Especially here. These are would be your Chads. Right in this area, you have your main R lineages here. So you'll see purple. They would say that would be the R lineages. At least let me see, make sure I was looking at the purple. Yeah, that's the purple. And then the blue is gonna be your E1B1B. So notice how much your E1B1B over here. Some over here, but you got a lot of your E1B1Bs. See in this area, and then remember the green is your M2 and the yellow is the A. That's the real Hemite. The real Hemite. See, look, the bottom wasn't really even filled by the real Hemites. That was really taken by the E lineage. The E lineage filled the bottom first. They went down there and filled the bottom. And remember, their place of origin, right, is not here. That's important. The biblical narrative tells the place of origin is here. So that means that this is a far Eurasian lineage going downwards. And remember, your A and B lineages, they're separate. They're the real Hamites, A and B. Is a separation at CT, right? Because DE is no closer to A than CT or CF is closer to A because they both split at CT. That's very important. That's why that's important. And also the YAP lineage shows that they're different. The YAP plus. DE is the only one with YAP plus, D and E lineages. But that's why I'm showing this because it's evidence wherever you see B on here, whenever you see E1B1, that's where we also find E1B1A. And I'm gonna talk about that when I go over this little video and talk about the connection with it. And that's pretty much what I'm summarizing today is that actually the E lineage went down and filled this area, and some of the Hamitic lineages, as is written even about Ham settled up here. Ham didn't settle down here. Ham settled up here, as is written. Ham settled in the upper areas, Libya. Ham settled over here and in Syria, some in Syria, but they didn't settle in the lower coast. That's important. That's very important. But you can see you have your E1B1Bs up here, and you're gonna have your Rs over here. A long time ago, right? Very, very long time ago. You got your R lineages down there, and you have your A lineages, some in these places, some, right? You can see the gap right there, kind of like a separation. They separate, and they be in their own places and everything. Very important. Very, very important. Now, obviously, you got to understand this too, in the sense of when I go over it, it's not saying that this how it looked at that time. It's just saying that after the spread, we find evidence of separations, um, and then we got to look at what exactly do we see, like the actual fossils of the location, and everything. And I'm gonna show you that when we go over that because it's really deep and really interesting, but shows the separation because these E's were together. They're both together. They're one and the same. They're actually E1B1. Both of them are from E1B1. They are actually going to be one family. And I'm gonna go over that. I'm gonna go over how that's important because they actually know that that's Arabian. They actually when they take that and use that, they know that that one has the highest amount in Arabia. It's actually higher in Arabia, in ancient Arabia, and in different places. Is very important when doing that. I'm gonna go over that when they talk about it. All right, it says throughout time, linking Western Arabia with the Levant and Eastern Arabia with Iran and the Caucasus, and then just talk about different things here and whatnot. Because, like I say, it's very interesting. All right, it's very interesting. It's very interesting. Very interesting connection. And I'm gonna talk about these um, Iberasians. Iberasians. I'll talk about this group here. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I'll say it right Sunday. But it's gonna be it's real deep. It's a real deep one because we know they always try to bend data. Like for example, if you don't think that they're trying to bend data, I'm gonna show you an example on how we know they're trying to bend data. They always try to make E1B1A look smaller in the Middle East. You ever see something like this? Let me show you something. So there's gonna be a real quote from here. I'm gonna show you how they how it's been is I'll show you how the information um, is watered down pretty much. Watch this. I'm gonna show you something. All right. So you see how it says right here? It says the presence of E3A, M2 lineage, and basically, this is basically gonna be in Arabia, right? Oman, Yemen, right? The basically United Arabic Emerald and all that, and then Kuwait. Now, or Kuwait, Qatar. This one, you see how it says 28 right there, or 2.8? That's very tiny, right? 2.8, right? Wouldn't you think, like, if you see something like 20%, that would mean, like, they probably was there. It was probably in the Middle East, right? If you see something like 20%, you see that's like 2% there, right? And this is on nature. Let me show you something now. Let me show you something now. It's gonna be from some information. When we just what I just said about Qatar, only 2.8. Look what it says about Qatar on this PDF. I'm gonna show you what it says about Qatar on this PDF. Look what it says about Qatar. It says E3A-M2, right, which talks about what's all these, right? Almond. Look at Qatar. Qatar, 23.8%. 23.8%. That's very important. So in this one, it lets us know that was actually 23.8%. That's very important. This is a PDF from MA University of Kansas, 2010, copyright 2013. Tell them what's up with that. What's up with that? What's going on with that? It's a real PDF, and that's why I be finding. I be finding stuff like that. Like what's up with the different numbers? Sometimes I see that. They try to make E1B1A look like it never been in the Levant, like it always been in Africa. Has any lineage always been in Africa? Ask yourself that biblically. Has any lineage at all, right? Has any lineage at all only been in Africa based on the biblical narrative? And you got to know about Nimrod being in Babel. That's very important. There's no lineage just native to Africa. It's very important. Though we have Hamites settle down there, it's important to know also Shemites and Japhanites went down there. So we gotta know who is who. But this is a paper that I was talking about. This is a paper that I was talking about. So it's interesting when you see things like that. I be noting stuff like that when I find stuff like that. Just someone's gotta stand for the truth and whatnot. And look, you can see a lot of really interesting stuff. You can see a lot of interesting stuff. I'll tell you that right now. But that's what I want to talk about. That's what I want to talk about. I just want to talk about what was found. And basically what I was talking about before, how they was connecting the sub-Saharan Africans, basically with the ones of the Near East, connecting certain ones. And I'll talk about that before, and I'll talk about that when Sunday comes and go over that, and then talk about these certain interesting groups of individuals that needs to be talked of. So that's one of the things that is going to happen. One of the things that's going to happen. So y'all willing, we had that conversation, and the reason why, because it opens the door to reality, to what we're seeing, to some very important truth. Because you know, I thought it was just interesting how everyone's accepting skipping steps. I thought it was just interesting how everyone just skipping along, skipping steps, and no one's saying nothing about it. No one's saying nothing that we're taking a whole branch of one monophyletic group, just one branch, and trying to connect it to another branch, because that's always what they want to do, is connect T and J or different groups like that, and can't connect like the root, the IJK, that they all make each other, or even F, that they all make each other. IJK, more IJK here, but this will be F. But that's what I wanted to talk about. I want to talk about what is found, because I think it's truth. I think what's found is truth. So we'll end up talking about that. We'll end up talking about that, but not today. Not today. Today's more of a summary and everything. But it's really deep. It's really deep, because we can link them still to to the land that they came from Sumer. Now let's talk about that, how the Sumerians and all that and whatnot, and you can see their genetics still in that area. Just open this real fast. It's some interesting truth, it's interesting to know that, you know, the world we're living in, this stuff is there, but we're hearing something else. But it's clear. It's clear to see why. It's absolutely clear once you start getting what's going on. But this what you see, the Y DNAs found in Sumer, right? In the Marsh Arabs in Iraq and stuff. What you can see here, you can see your Yap lineages. You can see your M2, E1B1A. The E1B1A in Sumer, of course, and you get your E lineages there, right? You get a decent portion, and obviously you got your other lineages that reigned over that area, right? As you're gonna have many different lineages in that area, but it's important to note that we do have E's all in the Levant. It's one of those things that's just important to know, that they have E's all in the Levant. And the best thing to note about migrations is that female lineages too, right? Not just male lineages, but the female lineages too. That's important. It gives us a understanding of the migration, the actual migration of the people, which this I gotta go up. So right here, this one just talks about the female lineages, and you can see your L in Sumer. You can see your L lineages. There's no doubt you'll find your L3s there in Sumer, in ancient Sumer. That's the land of, right, this little area. Let me just open up well, I think this is a PDF. Let me see. Oh no, it's right here. This is the land of Abraham. That's what this is. Oh, it's still loading. Let it load real fast. All right, there we go. Okay, I think it's still loading. But it's talking about the people in Sumer and everything, the Marsh Arabs and everything. Obviously, this is actually taken later on, after people are getting there and stuff, migration, but it still lets us know that we still see you know, and you can see obviously there's going to be your lineages there that would be considered as being from the Shemites. Now, obviously, when I say the Shemites, even the ones like I showed that went downwards and they were pushed up back upwards, they were pushed back up. They went into Spain, into all around, and they came back to Sumer, and they went down. So that's what we see. We see that lineage there in that area, and a decent portion. Right? We can't say it was just migration from somewhere else. That's one of the things that has to stop happening. Everyone's focusing on one subgroup or one line. Like they'll say J, but they won't connect it to its root. They won't connect it to IJK, but they'll sure just say J, but not I, which makes no sense. It's not monophylactic, and that's important. Now, the reason why I say that is because it's just truth. We gotta have some truth. We gotta refine the truth and have some truth. So that's what I'm gonna do. So Sunday, it's gonna be really deep. It's gonna be breaking down a video. Well, just one part, just one part on it, and talk about basically how certain groups got in certain areas. So it's gonna be this video and showing how Israel, that E1B1A lineage, is in the Bronze Age. It's very important. So we'll talk about that. Very, very important find. Just some understanding to why is it like that? Why are they in Europe? What's the reason for that? What happened? Right? It was just a spread. That was all it was. It was just a spread and caused them to go up into these areas. And these areas here, they went upwards. They settled here. They settled here because they went back up into the Levant. They settled here. They went through Spain. Some of them, I think some of them had went. Oh no, they were over here. Yeah, so they went over here, here, and here, and some obviously at went to Some end up going to Either they were here and some went actually upwards from here. They were already here because that was the homeland, which we talked about. We find E1B1B even like 45,000 years old in Levant. And that's important because it's just talking about that large ages. That just means that it's fossilized there. Just means that it's very old. But the biblical narrative is true. But we do find them there, and that's what it talks about, right? Didn't he call the Syrian from the place of Moab, right, from Ker? That's what we see coming from the place of Moab. That's the place of Moab from Ker. I put that. I put that. I put it on my video yesterday. It was a little statement. The reason why that's why I do this, because when I looked at that scripture again, I was like, whoa, that's deep. That's real deep. So yesterday, I'm gonna show you what I put there. I just put, I always put in the description a lot of meat, a lot of meat in the description. But you can see here Amos 9 and 7, right? Are you not as the children of Ethiopians to me? Right? He says, are you not like the word Ethiopian may come from like the sense of black, but even the sense of him, right? Are you not the children of Cush? Are you not as the children of Cush to me? He says, O children of Israel, says the Lord. And then he says this. He knows what he's saying. He says, have not I brought up Israel out of the land of Egypt, Africa? Right? He brought Israel out of Africa. That's what he said. He said, have not I brought Israel out of Africa? Right? And he says, and the Philistines from Captor, from Rome, right? Captor, from the area where Rome will be, right? And the Syrians, right? Syrians. Watch what you got to remember. The Syrians, this group is the Syrians. The E1B1B is the original Syrians, as it says. The Shemites settled in Damascus, and that's where we find these lineages. These are the oldest ones that were in Damascus, the oldest ones, and that's what I was talking about before with Mount Carmel. That's what I was talking about before. when I said that E1B1B is found in Mount Carmel, right? At its oldest. That's what I was talking about before with the little maps and everything. I think somewhere over here. But I'll talk about that too. I'll go a little more into it and talk about it because we can go into the read of it. We can go deep into the read of it. Like for example, on this, it was talking about the Natufians that they found there, and this also has a genetic report on it. That's what's important about this little thing is that it has a little genetic information, and it shows what they had, and they connect them. They put sub-Saharan connected obviously with the Natufians. All the Natufians are the same because E1B1A and E1B1B are related. E1B1A and E1B1B are related. That's important to understand. So they just basically connecting them and everything. You can see, just putting them on the chart. And then it talks about the lineages, that's found because they're connecting the lineages of the Natufian on this. That's what this thing is. It's basically letting us know about, the Natufian connection and whatnot, and how they went into Spain and everything. I'll talk about this. I'll talk about it again because I already talked about it. It's basically also connects them to Mesopotamia and everything and whatnot. I had talked about this yesterday a little bit, but let me go back to where that was. You can see right on this thing. It talks about your males obviously having your Yap lineage. That's how we know it's D. I mean DE lineages or E lineage in the sense because it has your Yap lineage. That's important. Only DE lineages have Yap. That's important. That's how we know is a DE lineage because we see Yap. Sometimes they're basically identified by their Yap lineage. The Yap is a very interesting thing to break down. Just like basically a thing that copied itself. One of the alities that copied itself. But you can see the reason why I went to this because I wanted you to see that these are the ones like sub-Saharan. They're connecting them together, right? They're connecting ones in Morocco, who they say Berbers and stuff like that, mixed together with them, right? The ones in the Portuguese, right? The sub-Saharan Africans, right? Because obviously your E, like I showed you on that little map, your all your E lineages are one, right? They're all one. But we also can note the females. What females were there, right? Sub-Saharan, you can see even in the sense of what they are. You can see it's just letting us know, what is just letting us know with the movement and connection. It's a really deep one. This is it's a really deep read, because it lets you know that they're related and how they move with their movement, right? With the Nile Valley and everything. It's very interesting. In fact, it says the genesis of these populations is not clear. The clear break with previous culture and technological tradition or technical traditions, which represents the appearance of the. And I'm going to talk about these people. I'm not going to talk about it now, but these people is very, very deep, very, very interesting, right? They're E1B1B that looks like um, they look like they're Caucasian, right? And that's what I've been talking about for a while because Hablo, what's the word I'm looking for? A pigmentation is not a representation of people. Pigmentation doesn't represent people. That's very important. You can't just look at someone's pigmentation and tell who they are. The life is in the blood. For example, I want to show this interesting little video someone made of a bunch of people with the E group. And I appreciate stuff like that because it takes time to put a face with blood. But this is a really interesting one. It's so deep because the reason why it's deep is because they're connecting all E1B1B lineages. And it's a single video connecting all E1B1B lineages. You see that this little, let me see, I'm pausing on the spot. This is important. This is very important. It talks about the spread of E1B1B, and it's very deep. You'll see like it's there. Your E lineages right there and there, here, 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 because they do go up. The E lineage goes up. It does go up from here, goes up, and that's why we find E here. But this is actually going to be their homeland right here. This is their homeland, right? They're not coming out of Africa into here. They're coming from over here, right, and settling over here. That's one of I guess that's one of the biggest things is to get people to get out of the perspective of what's the word I'm looking for? The perspective of how they think the world was made, right? To believe what the biblical narrative is saying, is understand that, you know, like there. See, the taking the time to put these together is great. You know, the E lineage over here in these areas is very great to see. The E lineage it basically ruled the North. It's even talked about how they ruled the North, how the groups ruled the North. They almost basically merged with almost every group. Almost every group they merged with. But it's known where their homeland is and everything. But this one's pretty decent because they show some of the things they found and whatnot. But there's a better one. There's a better one um, that's very deep. I'm gonna see if I can go to it. It's interesting to see faces with the person. Let's see if I can find it real fast. In fact, I think yeah, E1B1B individuals with E1B1B can be different shades. The reason why I say that is because I try to bring this out without not thinking of any pre notion of anything, but look at what how genetics works first. Understand like how the tree works and noting whose family. Let me see if I can find it on here. I think I have a different one of it, but let me see. I think I do, unless that's the one. Oh, this gotta be it right here. Yeah, yeah. This one's better. This one's better than the other one because this one, um, they obviously like show some connections with certain groups. They show that they were with connect. They went all the way to different areas where the Huns were and stuff later on, right? Filling different areas over here. Noting the homeland right there, where it's more darker. So it's really interesting, to note. Obviously, having portions, but later on during Abraham's time, they ruled the bottom. They just got some, obviously, because remember, the E's also um, like 30% of the Ashkenaz are mixed with the E's. So it's one of those ones that is important, to note that. So I thought this one was interesting. It's a little longer, but they just connect some things together. It got some meat in it because it got some information, some stuff. Obviously with discernment, because you got to understand what's going on there. But that's things like that. I think is important because it lets you know that people are very different, right? When you think E1B1B and stuff like that, you can see 40% up there. That's crazy. Look at that. E1B1B later on traveled all the way up to there. So that's really interesting. In fact, let me see that. You know, it's one of those things that the more you start to see, what's happening in the world, it's pretty crazy. It's just one of those ones that I'm gonna note because that's really interesting. It says put Longwell people. Sometimes it's just tell you right then and there. Let's see. It's really interesting. How people are mixed. People are mixed, and they can be one thing or another. This one doesn't really talk about it, but I'm sure it wouldn't be too hard. I could look. I'll look for it another time because I just want to note that because that's really interesting. That's that was a high percentage, like 40%. I want to double check that because that's pretty high. 40%. I don't think they would have 40%, but who knows? Maybe they would. Let me just put one more thing. Usually doesn't. Mm, I don't know where he got that, but that's why even like those little things, I always double check. But I'll see what he's talking about because I don't know. I don't know about that. Probably like 4%. I don't know about 40 because that seems like something that would be everyone that'll be like right there. It wouldn't be too hard to find. Just make a claim like that. That's pretty major. But that's one of those things. The reason why that's important because just noting E1B1B's migration, you know, it's one of those things that's it's interesting to note. So that's why we're gonna go. I'm gonna go over it. I'm gonna go over it this Sunday, and I'm gonna talk about how E1B1A caught a ride in the movements with E1B1B. And we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about how that had happened, and there's also genetic information of where they went and where they ended up, right? Where they went and where they ended up. And that's what I've been saying that the E group is Shemites. They are actually Shemites, right? It makes no sense. It made no sense, anyways. It made no sense, anyways, to try to say that E1B1A was only in Africa. That made no sense. In ancient times, to say that one group of people only stayed in one area doesn't make any sense because, like I said, you can get Japhanites coming down here too, right? We just know that where their place of origin is, right? Nobody originated over here. That's how we knew something was messed up because no one originated over here, but people originated over here, right? And they migrated to different areas, right? But we know Hamites were over here because we know that it said that the Hamites were over here. We know that because Nimrod was over there. So it's just a red flag. Like anyone who would believe that E1B1A never was in here is you gotta be suspect of that itself, right? That's what I was saying. Like the evidence can be hidden. That doesn't mean it's not there, right? I think someone said it something really interesting once. What was it? I forgot he said it, but a lack of evidence isn't evidence of absence, right? That's important. Or an absence of evidence isn't evidence of absence, right? Just because it's not there doesn't mean it can't be found. That's important. But because it's not there doesn't mean it's not there. It just means you just haven't found it yet. You haven't seen it. You haven't yet seen it, right? So that's what I want to go over. Sunday, I want to go over that because I think the biblical narrative is pure, and I think Yah put the life in the blood, and it's manifesting in these days. It's manifesting clear and clear, very clear every day. And I'll try, just for the sake, maybe we'll do a live and just, um, break down some of these letters. Just get a little understanding of these things. But it's easy. It's easy. A and B are one. D and E are one. Everything after that is Japhetic. Everything after that is C and C and F are one. Everything of C and F are one. Only reason that you have so many branches is because Japheth was older than all these. Japheth was older than all these. In fact, I found something really interesting that I should probably talk about. Let me see if it's still here. Let me show you something that I found out. Remember, I was talking about that K that was found, and I said that's why the K group is European, because we can find them in ancient Europe mixing with the Neanderthals, right? 45,000 years ago. So remember, this is going to be the one, right? It's going to be related with T. Very important. Get your K group. What's important is I'm going to show you something that's talked about on this, about that same group. Remember, it's called Isham, or how you say that, Isham, right? It was like Isham, like that. That's what this was over here. Isham, right? The one that's that K, Isham. And go down. It's going to talk about Isham. There's actually a lot of talking about Isham. There's actually a lot of talking about Isham. But what's interesting about this one, what's interesting about it, I'm going to read something here, what they wrote. Examination of the sequenced genome indicates that what's that UST Isham man lived at a point in time 270,000 years ago to 45,000 years ago, between the first wave of basically modern humans that migrated, they say out of Africa, but it just let us know that when they left Mount Sinai, in truth, they went to their areas. They went to their own location, and it says in term of autosomal DNA in different parts of Eurasia. So they were basically settled in different areas, right? In Europe and Asia, Eurasia, Europe and Asia. That's very important. So that's important. But they were, remember, the location that they were at was at um, Russia, right? Above Mongolia, Turkestan, right? That's very important, right? Very, very important where Kazakhstan is. So that's why I was showing this, because that shows us that that was an ancient European lineage. K is an ancient European lineage. It's a lineage that stayed in Europe for a long, long time. And that's the thing. The one that I was showing with the E1B1B, that one was in, you know, like I say, it was in basically where you can see here in the Paleolithic, the Natufian ones, right? This is going to be talking about the skeletons that they found, and they know that these ones were the ones that they had found, and they are the Natufian, right? The Natufian, they were in the Israel for a long time, and that's what we had talked about. We even found it in the Upper Paleolithic, and that's what this little chart was from yesterday. Where is it? Right here. That's what this little chart was. That we know that E and Israel, all throughout time, all throughout time, they was in their area, and that's gonna be like Damascus and everything. So that's why that script. That's why that scripture says that. That's why I do this, because that verse, that scripture where it said, "And the Syrian, right, from Ker," right. That's what we see there, from Ker to Syria, not that far of a distance, right? He's saying he called the Syrian from Ker. I mean, the Syrian from Ker. Says they were here first, but he moved them up. And that's what we see. E1B1B was majorly here, and they end up moving over here. We know that they were over here in this time because we can find them in Ebla and different things like that in different areas. We know that they were in Ebla and different city places over here. They were moved. They were moved. and that's what we find there. We find that lineage there, and the furthest it can be located, the furthest is homeland. In fact, his homeland says that that's the homeland of E1B1B. And obviously you're going to have your E1B1. So if you have E1B1B there, that automatically means E1B1 was there automatically, because E1B1B comes from E1B1. That means E1B1A is also there, because that is just how a monophyletic group works. It's just their family. That's going to be their homeland. That's very important. They're going to be all one because it's the oldest you can find it. The oldest you can find it, that means it's going to be one in that one area. That's very important. That's how we know that we are actually looking at truth. We're actually examining truth. Anyone who believes that one of these, just T or J, and just say that those are Jews and don't connect none of these, they're a liar. Just remember that. Remember that. If anyone says that J is Jews or T is Jews and don't make it a monophyletic group, they're a liar. Remember that. Always remember that. In fact, I'm going to do something real fast. I'm going to draw something and show you something. I'm going to do it so that we all can see it. I'm going to show you. I'm going to make a new, or how do you make a new on this? Right here. I'm going to show you something. I'm going to make a circle. In fact, I'll make it a little easier on the eyes. Let's make this black. All right. And now just bring this down a little bit. All right, so I'm going to make a circle, right? I'm going to show you why. I'm going to make a circle. Well, let me see. I need like a, yeah, there we go. All right, I'm going to make a circle. I'm going to show you something. I'm going to show you, I'm going to do it right in front of you so you can see that I'm trying to express I'm unbiased. The reason why I'm unbiased because I can't accept a lie. It makes no sense to try to make T a Israelite and make J a Israelite and not make a monophyletic group. I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna make the Jews. Matter of fact, I'm gonna show you in love. I'm gonna make the Jewish haplogroups their monophyletic groups. I'm gonna show you. Let me just go to. I'm gonna show you. And if someone doesn't believe when I do it that it's monophyletic, I'll show it on the chart how it's monophyletic. Okay, so let me just go to one where I can see the numbers of percentages. This one, this is the female lineages. Okay, so Morocco Jews, that's they're basically Jews. Okay, I'll just do this one. I'm gonna use this one because it got the percentages on here. Okay, so I'm gonna show you what's all monophyletic. Right? In fact, let me open up a tree just to show it. And I'm gonna show you this. If you know anyone who ever does any skipping steps, if you know anyone that skips steps and makes a T or a J a group and doesn't make it monophyletic, make sure you remember this. Because a matter of fact, one day I'll just make a full live just on the focus of what just monophyleticness on peoples. And it's important because it lets us know who's related and who we are. But I'm going to show you something what's important to note. I'm going to make it monophyletic. So just let this thing open. Okay, so what's important, remember I had showed on how this chart actually is. Know about an unrooted chart, right? There's your unrooted charts. There's your normal charts. And there's your circular charts. This is an unrooted. Every geneticist who's a geneticist knows what an unrooted chart is. If you have an unrooted chart, it will look like this because A and B doesn't make D and E and none of these lineages, but they break from a middle split. I'm just gonna go over a little bit and show that on a little thing real fast before I proceed. As I'm going to do this design, and you're going to see what I'm saying, that the world is insane. The world itself is insane. It doesn't make sense. But okay, so you see this? This right here is circular mode, right? You can make a tree many different type of ways. You can make it, as long as you got a start, you can make it branch out three different ways, or you can branch it out any type of way. These are different ways to make trees. This is circular mode. This is normal mode. This is harder to understand. How it breaks. This is harder to understand how it breaks. Unrooted mode is how you can understand how it breaks very easy. Unrooted mode. So this is going to be unrooted mode, how it looks. So this is your unrooted mode. You can see here, little idea of what it will look like. So your unrooted mode, they basically branch out. That's how you know your B and A don't make these. Okay, so we're going to look at these things and look at what's going on here. So first, let's understand this. We're going to go to the spot where it breaks. I'm going to show you how we're going to make it monophyletic. So watch this. Anything under E are going to be different than everything under here. These are going to be more related than E is related. So let's go over here and let's see how much E's we got. How much E of this we have? 19%. All right. So I'm going to go over here and make this part. I'm just going to stretch this. I'm going to make part of this, let's say it was 19%, about there. And I'm going to put this as 19%. Right? So, okay, remember, this is going to be, and I'm going to make it monophyletic. If it's monophyletic, this will be DE. This will be DE if it's monophyletic. That's the only DE we have there. I'm going to close this because this don't need this right now. Okay, so now let's see what other groups we got there. We got your J1 and J2. J1 and J2 are monophyletic with I. So let's look on the chart. So this is where we are. I, J are monophyletic. You see how they close together like that? Because they're all one. I, J makes I and J. These are monophyletic. So what we're going to do, we're going to first count how many of I, J we have, because I'm going to show you how we're going to do it. I and J. So how much J we have? 20 plus 19, that's 39 plus 4%. That's going to be 43%, right? So 20 plus 19 plus 4%, that's going to be 43%. Let's put that on a chart. All right? So 43%. So we got about a little less than half. It's about there. 43%. 43% is going to be J. No, let me yeah, JI, but that looks. Let me make it more like, because it's gonna be actually your IJ, and so I'm gonna just put like that in the way that that's written. I and J. I'm gonna show you how we're gonna make them monophyletic. So I J. So this is IJ, right? All this is IJ. Now let's see what we have left. What do we have left now? We have 10% G, T, R. Now let's just make what's monophyletic first. T, R, Q are monophyletic. So T, R, and Q are monophyletic. So you can see right here, they're going to be under K. So technically, you have to link them with K. You have to link them with K9 because if they're monophyletic here, it doesn't matter how many is under the same one, even though there's a lot. That's what makes it ridiculous because there's a lot. There's a lot from K9, but that's what makes them monophyletic because they're all connected by this branch. They're all connected by this one branch. They're monophyletic. So this is going to be the maker who makes everything underneath here. So if everything underneath here are related, right? What's the only thing that's not underneath here? G. And we're going to look at that because G is up here. And now this is where it's going to get really interesting to make this monophyletic. First, let's make the, right? So I's here, and now we're going to make, what's the percentage that we have here? Let's first note. Let's go over here and note it. How much percentage it is. So 2% plus 8, that's 10. Plus 10, that's 20. Plus 5, that's 15. So 20, well, 15, I say 15. I just confused myself. 25 and plus another 8. So let's count that again. Just I don't know, I just keep confusing myself like that. But that's what we got, 25. 25. So 10, well, not that 10. 10, 20, 10, 20, right? 2 for the T, and R got 8. These two are going to give 10, and this is going to give us 20, and this is going to give us 15. Let's put it on the chart. So we got well, 15. Why I keep saying 15? 25. So right, one more time. This 2 makes 10. Another 10 makes it 20. Plus another 5 makes it 25. All right, so let's put 25% on here. 25%. So about that. And let's put 25%. So 25%. And remember, I know the percentages change, but I'm gonna show you something about monophyletic groups. So this one is going to be under K9, K-M9. These are all K-M9. So what do we have here? We already have different monophyletic groups within that group, but also we got right here a G. So we got 10% G. I don't know why my chart looks all. I probably made it some ones too small or something like that. Just making sure. Yeah, let me see. Let me make this one larger. Yeah, I'm gonna make this one larger. Let me just think how I'm gonna do that. All right, just erase that. All right, let me just make it larger, just so it's a little more clear. Yeah, about about there. Just so it's a little clear. All right, so let's go back to over here. What do we? How much we have of G? 10%. I should probably make it a little larger since it's 10%. Yeah, we'll just do it like that. I know it looks like 50%, but you know. All right, so this is gonna be 10%. Now, what's important is that we have a G. That's important. Why is that important? Because G, to make G monophyletic, you know what that means? Let me show you now why I'm showing you this. Let me show you now why I'm showing you this. You see this G right here, 10%? This G will be right here. So this G is right here. To make it monophyletic, watch me close this. Watch what happens here. All these are monophyletic. Every one of these are monophyletic if you make G related to them. Every single one of them are monophyletic with GHIJK. Doesn't that sound monophyletic? GHIJK, because GHIJK is a person. GHIJK is actually a person. In fact, let's put it right here. I'm going to put right here. Now, this one's going to be GHIJK, right? Just to make it, well, I'll make it a little, maybe bold, make it a little larger, something. All right, let's try it. Let's have it again. GH, or let me change the size first, just to make it stand out. I don't know. GHIJK. All right, and this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna put a, I'm gonna put a curve here. I'm gonna put a curve right here. You know why I'm putting a curve here? Or what's that one gonna do? Let's restart that. I forget how you do the right bend. I'm gonna do it again. Make it go like that, and then that. There we go. All right. So the reason why I'm doing it like this, I'm gonna show you why. Why why is it that I put one here? Why? I'm gonna make it like this. Yeah. Okay. So why am I connecting it like this? Because all these are one. If you was making it GHIJK, let me show you how much percentage you'll have. So 43 plus 25, right? That's gonna be 60, 68 plus 10. What is that? 78%. If you made it monophyletic, 78% is one family. 78% and 19% is a different percentage. So that's one family. And that's counting if it's 19%, sometimes you see 30% in Ashkenaz. So there's 19%. Sometimes you'll see stuff different. It depends. This one got 12% right there. So that would make it more monophyletic. That would make it like 90% monophyletic. So, because remember, all these are actually monophyletic with the G. All these are monophyletic. All they're related. That's very important. It works the same way with the female lineages. All these are monophyletic. And most likely, a lot of these will be too, except the L2s in certain ones. But almost all of these are monophyletic. X, if they have an X lineage or that W, those are would be different. But they would have your monophyletic 81% European. 81%. Let me see. So right here, it's this one has 10 plus 5 plus 3. That'd be 18%. Plus 1, 19%. That would be 19% E1 or E3. And then the rest, almost 80%. That's a lot being monophyletic with G, right? Because it would be monophyletic. You got to make it monophyletic. If you say it's Shemites, if you say that as a Shemite, you have to make it monophyletic, right? So which one's the Shemite? Which one's the Shemite? And which one's we're going to make monophyletic? Because look, let me show you something. And this is why I was showing with Dr. Nathan Jensen. Because technically, Jensen said J was Japhetic. So if J is Japhetic and IJK are one, then IJK are Japhetic. Because if J is Japhetic and you make JIJ monophyletic, if you make IJ Japhetic, then to make that monophyletic, you have to have it from here, right? And that's very important. And someone would say like, well, you can get Japhetic lines and you can get Shemitic lines if someone tries to make that Shemitic. Well, what's the problem with that? That can't be Noah because where's your third line? Where's your Hamite? That can't be Noah. If that's not Noah, then that's under Noah, and anyone under Noah is one line, one family, and that's what we know. This is all one family because all mono is all connected. It's all one family from FM89. Very very important. It's very very important, and that's what we see on the design. That F groups. These are all under F. These are all one. All these are one. These are actually all related. All these are related, and that's what this is. That's what that was. If you look at it, if you take it like, oh, this is what is this like R's, right? What would you have here? You'll have what your R lineage here. You'll have your Q lineage here. You have your T lineage here. Obviously your G there. Remember you have your J. So a large portion of J here. You'll have your I. Your J and your I here, right? And then obviously your E. This is your E1B1B. It's always E. It's usually always E1B1B. They would have a small portion of E1B1A, but that's rare. I'll just put E1B1. So a small portion of E1B1 lineages. Usually E1B1B. Usually E1B1B. Usually. But that's what we see there. This one would be only one different than these ones. The only one you can't make monophyletic with these ones, because to make these monophyletic with this, you got to go all the way to CT. You got to go all the way to CT, and that would be actually the split. That would be the real split of Ham, Shem, and Japheth. So these are actually one family. These are all actually one family. That's important to understand that these are actually one family, and they're all monophyletic. If you take G, if you take G and you make this one monophyletic, all these will be all one. If you make J Shem, right? Let me show you something. If you make J Shem genetically, you know what that means? If you make J Shem, if you make J Shem, automatically you either have to make this all Shemites, which in itself would be not enough to even get to a root. But if you make all this Shemites and then you're saying that this would create these ones, then you would say that somewhere these would be Shemites as well. You have to say these are Shemites because they're all related. You can't just say that this one's a Shemite, but this one's not a Shemite. Yet this one creates this one, and this one creates this one, and there's another one that creates this one, and another one that creates this one. That's important. That's very important. That means that's not Noah, right? So what we're seeing here is that the world is saying J's are Shemites, and then they'll skip steps, right? They'll skip steps as if these were close together, and say T are Shemites. So sometimes you'll see on paper say, oh, the J and the T Shemites aren't, or Jews aren't seen. How is that possible? How in the world are we believing this? How is the world falling for this? Why are people believing this? I don't understand that at all. If you understand how monophyletic groups work, one family has to attend to the root. One family has to attend to the root. The root is part of the family. So that's very important. So to claim that J's would be Jews would be saying IJK are Shemites. That means everything under IJK are Shemites. That's what that claim would mean. But that's not what we see. That's not what we see. But rather what we see is actually that these are all one. These are all one family. These are all one family. And can it be that the women that they were denying of old are actually European and they are European too? That's what I'm saying. You see what I'm saying? It's the truth. It's once we start realizing that truth, there's a major growing that can happen. Once we understand this. Is this not true? Is these not monophyletic? If you include G, that large portion of G with them? Or are we just gonna say, well, that large portion of G is just adopted in and everyone else is adopted in? Then we gotta figure out where does this split? Where in the world does it split? Where will we have the split if they're all going to be monophyletic like that? Where's the split? You see what I'm saying? I'm just showing this in honesty, in the sense of honesty, because if you get more, the more smaller the E is, the more monophyletic this group gets, right? If they didn't even have an E here, they'd all be related. If they didn't have an E on this group, they'd all be one family. They'll all be one family from F. They'll all be related, every single one of them. If they didn't have an E here. If they didn't have an E here, they'll all be related. So just consider that. Think about that, right? And we cannot say that all these are Shemites. We can't say this whole line. We can't say this whole line is Shemites. We can't. We can't, because if we say this whole line is Shemites, you have to go all the way to FM89, because it makes all these. We can't say this whole line is Shemites. We can't. We can't say that's Shemites, because where is Japheth? Where would Japheth be? This is DE, the one they want to make Hamites. But DE shows itself to be Shemites. And your A and B lineages are different than both of these. As this is why I said A and B is no closer to DE than it's closer to CF, because it's split by CT. There's a split. These descend their own way, and these descend their own way. If anything, A and B will be more closely related to C and F, to be honest with you. But again, that's where it's important to understand these things. So the reason why that's important is because what I'm doing, it may seem like it's one thing or another, but it's so clear it doesn't make no sense if we don't stand for the truth. It's so clear. It's just so clear. It's that clear. But that's why we stand for it. We stand for the truth because it's that clear. So I just put a B there. So that's what we see here. We actually see it all depends. It can be from 80%, sometimes 90%, right? Monophyletic. That means that you have mostly one family. And you got to consider what could that family be? What could that one family be? Right? So, and that's why we go about it because truth is truth. We live in a world that we need to examine truth and go about it carefully, very carefully. But that's what I want to go over. I just want to go over this thing, y'all willing, in the right season, to go over these things. So this one is just just going over the information of that group that I was just talking about, the Neanderthal, right? He mixed with these groups. This one is actually like mix of the ancient Neanderthals, but this one was mixing with them. It was mixing with these groups. It was getting really deep, really deep, really, really deep. Things that happen. So I guess with that, I don't have really much to say other than, this Sunday, I'm going to try to bring out something very deep, something really deep, just to give a little understanding to the biblical narrative, as I think it's important that, these things be understood. That we need to stop thinking that people started in Africa. No one started in Africa. That's not how migration works. When you see that a group is in Africa, think to yourself, they traveled really far from the homeland. They traveled really far from the place that they started at. That's actually what you should consider when you see someone in Africa. You see someone in Africa and then you think, oh, well, that's the end of the story. They got there, they're there, they're by themselves. But really, if you think migration and the biblical narrative, migration reflects the biblical narrative. And we see that people left from here and went downwards. And then we'll see like different things like connections being separated in certain groups over here. That's why you'll see it like that, because people were being in different places, right? Because Africa is not just solely one person. You can actually find ancient genetics of different people, Hamites, Shemites, and Japhanites, going into Africa all together at the same time, just like the biblical narratives say. But there's a certain group that stayed there longer. There was one that was there earlier and longer. That's talked about. We'll talk about that too. We'll talk about that in season. So, but with clarity on these things, just for clarity on these things. Um, the reason why we do it is for truth's sake and to bring understanding on what we're seeing in the world that we're seeing. So, with that, hope all is well, family. Hope everyone's doing good. Seeing everyone's doing. Shalom, shalom. Amen, amen. See, how's it going? How's it going? Yeah, child class. Sorry, that's right. Only R is Europe, nothing else from M9. Um, is this what's his name? So, like I said, brother, I want you to see this so that you understand. It doesn't matter if they're European or not. On a monophyletic group, they're one. They're all one on a monophyletic group. So you just seen it, and that's the facts. You can't just pick a T and you can't just pick a J and say that those are Jews. The only group you can do that with is with E and D. Why? Why? Because E and D don't come from another group. E and D comes from D and E, but T comes from K. K comes from IJK. IJK comes from it continues on. It continues on. That's just what we see. It's not like we ever get like a T and nothing makes it, but we get a T and something makes it, which is KM9. And we have to understand that it's going to be a branch from a branch from a branch because T doesn't make itself. T cannot make itself, nor did T come from CT. T comes from a long branch and then comes from another lineage. So it comes from CT, from CF, from GHIJK, from HIJK, from IJK, right? It's from K, from what they make a new K, your T and L, and then you get your T. T is like one of the most mutated branches. It's like one of the most mutated branches, and many of them are mutated, right? Like the R's and all that. I'm just being honest so that we can understand this. You can see a lot of them are mutated. Q's. right? These are one. You can see what's going on there, and they're all one under K M9. What are you gonna say? That's Noah? No, you can't say that's Noah. So they're monophyletic. They're monophyletic. I'll help you understand if you don't understand it. You see what I'm saying? This is called skipping steps. Look what how music. Look what he said. Let me show you what how music said. You see how he said I J and R white are the white boys. I J and R are the white boys apparently, even though he's T. So pigmentation is not a representation of people. Pigmentation is just a blocking matter to understand. It's something that causes confusion. I think it causes confusion. To be honest with you, it's only clear in certain ways, but it can cause confusion. Now, I want to show you something. What you're saying here. Obviously, K9 makes all the lineages underneath it, including R and including in T, and then J are all related to K by IJK. So what do you mean? Everyone's related by IJK. We're all one family. All linked to IJK. Can you deny that? Can you say they're not related to IJK? They're related to IJK. So that's right. Amen, family. Amen, amen. All right. Yep. You know what to do. You know what to do. Amen, amen. Amen. So, just to clarify with that brother again one more time, just if he's seeing, right? If he feels like you can skip steps. I don't know if he's seen it. I did a video yesterday real fast. I time stamped it and I called it "Don't skip the steps." All right, don't skip the steps. I put it in the description in the video yesterday. Not description, but in a comment. A comment, put a timestamp if you want to see that timestamp. Don't skip the steps. If you're a T, right? If you're the last one on this long list, it doesn't change anything that you're from this long list. If you're the last one on this long list, it doesn't change that you're from this long list. For example, you see this E lineage here? They got their branches too, right? But will I say that if let's say if I come out EM132, do I say that, oh, I'm a Jew, but my relative is not a Jew or not a Shemite, but a white boy? But I'm a Jew, but my complete relative on the same branch I'm on is not related to me because he has more branches inside of him. That it makes no sense. It'd be more like what's the word I'm looking for? It's like denying your fourth son because he's from another mother or something like that, but he's your whole son. You know, it's that silly. It's just that silly. Right? Because let's say he was E-M85. Let's say E-M85 are Jews. Okay, well E-M85 are Jews, but the person say not my relatives. My relatives are Japhanites. Okay, but from where? From what branch are these? Is the one from you, the one making you? Is this Noah? Is this Noah right here? No, that's not Noah. That's not Noah. So if I say E1B1B are Shemites, then all of this is Shemites. Everything underneath here is Shemites. But we got madness going on, talking about this long line, this T right here, which is the last one of this long line. This last one of this long line, this T right here that we see here, that we seen come in the Neolithic time frame, was not in the Paleolithic or the Mesolithic, but came late into the Levant later on from his father's homeland. This T group is supposedly said to be Jews, but not as brothers. Is L not the same from this part right here? So what in the world? Well, how are we doing this? Why is this happening in this world? And if we make these Shemites, you know what we're saying? If we make those Shemites, we're saying that this is a Shem. This is Shem that makes them. That's what we're saying. because we can actually find these as living people. That's very important. We got to understand how monophyletic groups work. Not listen to anyone that's saying one group is one thing and they not understanding monophyletic groups. I want them to show me a monophyletic group with it. Yes, CT is the root. CT is the root. Say that again. CT is the root. Is this the root? Or is this CT? No, that means you have to go all the way up to CT if you try to work with CT as the root. That makes it even worse. That makes it even more monophylactic because then at CT, you know what else you're monophylactic with at CT? Let me just put this on here. All these, everything underneath here that I'm going to put in this circle. Well, let me not make it like that. I'll just do this. Get it further. All right. I don't know how I'm going to do that. Let me just do it like this. All right. Let's see if I can make it. That's some way to bend this and get this around here. I don't know. I'll draw a circle. All right. So everything in here, everything inside here, every last ding, every last one, every last ding that you just seen just circled, every last one is under CT. Every last one of these. They're monophyletic with CT. Right? Make it right here. All these are CT. All these are CT. All of them. Right? But this T right here doesn't, you don't just cut this in half and make a T. That's not T. T isn't a T. T is a K. That, just make sure you understand that so that you're not getting deceived by someone that's just saying T makes K. No, T makes CF. Then from CF you get F. And then you get your lineages down, you get your K. And from your IJK, you get your K. And from your K, you get your T. You cannot just make T, you can't go from CT to T. It doesn't work like that. It does not work like that. That's not how groups work. That's not how genetics work. If you're trying to connect T to CT, you got to go through the others. Jay said you got to go through me. Jay said that Dr. Nathan Jensen said he's Japhetic. So listen to Dr. Nathan Jensen that Jay is Japhetic. So if you want to make T Shemitic, you got to go through Jay. You have to go through Jay. Jay is in your way. So we threw out Dr. Nathan Jensen, and Dr. Nathan Jensen is your stepping stone. So therefore, remember this when you think of K. Right? Think of this when you think of T, in fact. When you think of T, remember what Dr. Nathan Jensen taught you. What did he teach you? That he made all of K's family one. Is it true? Yes. Because T comes from K9, and K9 makes all of these. That's how you make a Shemitic family. But J said you got to go through me. I and J said you got to go through me. I and J is Japhetic. So if IJ is Japhetic, I and IJK are one. Thus your geneticist has said. Thus says the geneticist that J is Japhetic and K is one other line, but they're all related by IJK. Thus says your geneticist, if IJK is Japhetic, everything under here is Japhetic. Everything under here is Japhetic because they all related to IJK. Is IJK Noah? Is this Noah? Are we going to get 3 lineages from here? No, we're not going to get 3 lineages from here because his father is right there. And that father doesn't make DE, nor A and B lineages. So therefore, this is one family. You got to go through IJK. That's what you got to go through. You got to go through IJK if you want to make T Jews. Make that a monophyletic group. That's what you got to do. Make those two a monophyletic group, and then you'll see the real picture. You'll see the real picture and see what spills over. You'll see who's first and who's second. You'll see who's the older and who's the younger. You're gonna see that. You're gonna see who's older and who's younger. That's what you're gonna see. But they're all connected by F M89, and they're all connected by IJK, and then they're all connected. That's important to understand. So remember, A and B is different, D and E is different, but F makes all the lines underneath it. CF is all these. Is not CF all these? If I close CF, do all those close? And DE is still open? You know what a monophyletic group is? You know what a monophyletic group? Let, let, let me matter of fact, remember this about a monophyletic group. The special thing about a monophyletic group is that it's a group that makes every line underneath it, but doesn't make any other lines. You hear what I'm saying? Right? That's what a monophyletic group is. If you don't have a monophyletic group, then you know I would, but you kind of talk too sharp. Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, yeah. We'll have to let that be. I'm not gonna drop the link. Not today. Not for that. But I just want you to know. I'm gonna read something to you so you can understand this definition. I'm gonna show you a definition on here because I feel like a lot of people that look at this don't understand monophyletic groups and don't understand how one family works. I mean, if you understand the biblical narrative, this should be common sense. But let me read something. Let me read something here because I put a definition here. I think it's on here somewhere. Um, no, it's on here. All right. This one's okay, but let me see. One of these I put a, a, a real definition. I have to do this. Sometimes I can't see comments, so I always do new first because sometimes I can't see stuff. Let me see. Let me see. Let me see. That one's a little bit on the monophyletic. Okay, so let me read you this definition and tell me if this is what it sounds like. Watch this. Tell me if this sounds like. Tell me if this is what it sounds like for this. Tell me if this is monophyletic. I'm going to read the definition. All right, this is going to be the definition of monophyletic. Watch what it says. Of a group of organisms descended from a common evolutionary ancestor or ancestral group, especially one not shared with other groups. What did it say again? It's saying this is what a monophyletic group is. A group that makes every group underneath it, that makes its descendants, right? That's what it's saying there, right? A group, right? Or organism that descend from a common ancestor or ancestral group. These are all this will be the ancestor to everything underneath it. CF will be the ancestor to everything underneath it. Does CF make everything underneath it? Yes. Not DE, but it makes everything underneath it. So you can see those branches there. It's kind of you can see that little line right there. Watch that line not connect with DE when I close it. See how that line right there doesn't make DE? Now watch what it says about a monophyletic group. This is how we know it's monophyletic. It's not just a group, but it's monophyletic group. How do we know? Because it says a descendant from a common ancestor, right? Or common ancestor or ancestral group. Watch what it is part. Especially one not shared with other groups. You remember what I read from I read something from F. I read something very important. That's very important to note, and I'll show you why I put that question the way it was questioned. I'll show you why it's important to note this question that I made and I got from Family Tree DNA. I'll show you why it's important. It's because it verifies this statement. It verifies this statement that is monophyletic, right? Because remember, it's a group that makes everything underneath it, but not other groups. This makes everything underneath it, but not DE. That means it's monophyletic. That means we found a monophyletic group. That's very important. We found a monophyletic group. We even found the root of the monophyletic group. Let me show you something. I'm gonna read it on what family tree. This is what family tree DNA says. Let's see if it's monophyletic. Watch what family tree DNA says. I'm gonna ask them. Watch what I say. I say yes. Then is it correct to say F-M89 is a grandfather of IJK, but not A and B and D and E haplogroups? Yes. What does monophyletic group means? Of a group of organisms descended from a common evolutionary ancestor, evolutionary because they break down, they go down, they keep making the same clade, and evolutionary ancestor group, especially one not shared with any other group. That's what monophyletic means. Monophyletic is a group of descendants that descend directly from the line, but doesn't make any other lines. So CF makes T, CF makes F, and then your HIJK and your IJK and your C and your K and your C. I mean your K and your T, right? From CF comes K and then T, but not DE. So if this makes all those underneath it, but it doesn't make DE, it's monophyletic. It's a monophyletic group. That means we found the root of a monophyletic group. That means we found Noah. We found Noah because we found a monophyletic group. This one doesn't make this one, and this one doesn't make this one. That's very important. That's a monophyletic group, and that's the it's more it's kind of like how you do with numbers, right? You're given the number 25, and they say bring it to its lowest denominator, right? Bring it down to its lowest point. How low can you go to what can you get, right? Divide by 5, right? It divides by 5, so you put a 5 there. You know that 25 divides by 5, right? You know its root. You know its root. This is the root of Ham, Shem, and Japheth, BT and CT. If you go to the out of Africa not having enough proof, you can see on a chart that BT and CT starts all lineages. All lineages come from BT and CT. In fact, I can show you papers that would say BT is a little younger than CT, and that's one thing in itself. But that's where all lineages come from, BT and CT. BT and CT is actually where they come from. Where A and B come from BT, and CT makes CF and DE. It's very important. It's very important to understand. It's very, very important. So that's actually going to be one of those things to note, that the split for 3 lineages, for your A and B lineages and your CF lineages and your DE lineages, split here at the origin of the monophyletic group. Lest you do something like the madness that's being spoken of in the world. Open up these major long lines of one major line, right? And they're not even trying to connect G monophylactically, even though it makes all these. But let's just keep going, and you can see your J. This is where the confusion comes from. Some make J Jews, some make T Jews, but they don't want to make anything in between Jews. Some make J Jews, some make T Jews, but where the Shemites at? Is one of those things that doesn't make sense when you look at IJK makes them all. Does not IJK make them all? It's very important. Very important. That's very, very important. So IJK makes these. This one and this one without G, this one and this one, these one would be under IJK. IJK would make these ones. So that's very important. That's very, very important. So that's what we're seeing with IJK. IJK makes everything underneath it. They're all family. That's important. That's very important. And we know that this is going to be considered monophyletic because this one, technically, you see how it stops right there, right? Don't count the steps, right? You can't count the steps. You can't say T is related to E because we're clicking T at the bottom, right? We can't do this. You cannot do this. T is related to E, see, because the last one is close to E. See, look at that. It's close to E right there. This one and this one, they're related. Don't count the steps. You got to count the nodes. Let's count how many nodes we have. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven. Seven nodes away. That's important. That's very important. So it's deep in there. You have to understand that it comes from K9. Even Dr. Nathan Jeanson knows that. That's why he made it all one at the node, right at the place where you have your ancestral state for T. T is an ancestor. T is a descendant of K9. Therefore, all these should be considered Shemites if you're going to consider T as Jews. Therefore, that's your dilemma, that you know that these are Japhetic. That's why you said what you said, because you know that these are Japhetic. We know it too. That's right. Yep. What would be your opinion? What would be Noah? Yeah. So I believe that Noah would be a combination of BT and CT. I think BT and CT split when they were born, and you get your BT and you get your A and B from BT, and from your CT you're getting your CF and your DE lineages. But I think Noah had a combination of A, B, and C, of BT and CT. Let me save this. I'm gonna save this one too. Just call it mono. So if you ever see someone pick one group, just talk monophyletic groups. That's all you gotta do. Talk monophyletic groups, and you'll understand where they don't understand what they don't understand. You understand what they don't really understand, because it's important. Monophyletic understandings of genetics is important. That's why I was talking about what Dr. Nathan Jeanson did. That was good what he did. He showed how they have to be monophyletic. Let me see. Where's I had did one of these. I don't know why they look all the same. I wish one of these had like an emblem for that. I made um a little picture. I'm trying to think what. I don't think I named it. Maybe I didn't name it. I should have named it. I should have put a name on it, but that's all right. I'll look for it later. But I was making let me just see if it's not that. Let me see if it's uh let's see. Let's see if it's this one. Might be. Nah. Let me see. I'll try one more. Try one more. I know it's after this one. Let's see if it's unnamed. Nah. But that's good that now I know I can put pictures on here like that. But when I on Sunday, I'm gonna have a map here, and I'm gonna color the whole thing. I'm gonna show you this. I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show you that if you take K pretty much covers the whole south of here. K is like all up here, right here. If you take K is all that, and if you take E, your E1B1B, you get it over here, and a lot in these areas. They don't get into Arabia till later. They actually stay in this area early on. They don't go into Arabia till later. They go into this area, and then they go into this area early on. But they do pop up here. We do find some here in these areas. So Shemites are like kind of like sitting, going through in these areas, and also in these areas here at the bottom. So they're kind of like on the edges here, the Shemites on these little edges right here. That's where the Shemites are. And then the Hamites, I'm gonna show you that the Hamites actually from this area, you get A00 going upwards, A00 going to these areas, A00 and goes downwards. They go downwards into these areas. That's where your Hamites go. So your Japhanites were over here, all the way to these areas, all the way up here, right? Japheth went over here too. Japheth was all in these areas. That's why you have so many Japheth, because Japheth went across the sea. Japheth went to the islands. Japheth was the oldest. Japheth was the largest. Japheth was the strongest. He was like one of the strongest empires that rise. He basically rose over the Hamitic empires, and all the names of the land You've seen the Japhetic empires there, and the Amorites, and the Hittites, and the Canaanites, and all these little areas, and all the ites were taken over by the mixed company. It's very important. So we'll talk about that. Don't save that. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that. But amen. Ask questions. Your first. You see that? Look at that. When I found out I was R, I'm definitely using it to my advantage. I have definitely been using it to my advantage to solve this mystery because it just shows the ignorance of the world. You'll see that some would say it's Shemites and some would say it's Japhanites, right? You get this brother that's a T, and we are literally both related. We are literally related. Like we're related. We are both K9. Me and him are K9. Me and him. Me and him are related. We're both related. But he's saying that I'm different. We're not the same. He's saying we're not the same. Yeah, both of these are K. Don't let that T trick you. That T was originally a K2. That T is actually now K1. That's important to understand. But it's from KM9. We're all the same. It's a fact. It's just a fact. But the ones who are DE are blessed. They're Shem, right? They're Shemitic, right? And those are blessed who are under Christ, right? You choose Christ, you'll be saved, right? Who cares about none of that? But it's about finding truth. Once I start understanding that, my eyes were open. My eyes were starting to open more, and I was like, wait a second, wait a second, wait a second, wait a second. I had to make sure and ask, like, are you saying that we are all related? Like, yeah. Wait, if they're related, how can some be Shemites and some not be? Uh, don't ask those questions. Come on now. Come on now. Your T. That's R's and Q's and other languages. They're all related. I don't think you've seen it yesterday. I don't think you've seen it. Just because you open a branch doesn't make them less related. Do you know that? Because they're related at the same stem. They're related at this stem. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how much you put on the branch. It doesn't matter how much you add to the branch. They're still related by KM9. Look how much I open. You see how much I'm opening here? Is now this one is now T further related from K9? No, because T comes directly from K9. It's not further from K9 because it's directly from K9. That's important. That's how a monophyletic group works. One more time, we read the definition. It says this about a monophyletic group of a group of organisms descended from a common. Both of these are common from a common ancestor. Are descended from a common, right? Common evolutionary ancestor or ancestral group, especially one not shared with other groups. You see this KM9? Are these all shared? Is this one shared with KM9? Is this shared with KM9? Yes. Is this shared with KM9? Yes. Let me show you what's not monophyletic. Watch this. I'm gonna show you something. You see how these all share with CT? This is CT, this is CT, because they're all related. But look at the CF. Does this share with this? Let me open it and show you. Does D and E share a common ancestor with this one? No. This one, because this one don't make this one. Though they're related by CT. But this one doesn't make this one. But you wouldn't no one here would say that this is all one family. Not in the sense of Ham, Shem, and Japheth. You don't ever hear no one say all this is Shem. All this is Japheth. You know why? Because this is where you get your splits. That's where you get your splits. As anybody in genetics, would you ever say that all of CT, everything under CT, is a monophyletic group of Shem? Ask them, and they'll say no. They'll say no. Why? Because it makes different lines. So you're gonna get what? They'll say Hamites. Oh, so you get your Hamites, and what else you get? Japhanites. Okay, so you say these are Hamites too? Oh, those are Hamites. Okay, so you get some Japhanites underneath. Yeah, some are Jews. Where are the Jews? There's one right there. Okay, well, what do we see here? We got a bunch of splits now. If you try to make this a Jew down here and make a Japhanite down here as well, you got multiple splits. You got multiple errors. You got multiple errors. Because you know why? Because FM89 makes them all. That means that you have to make FM89 either Shem, Ham, or Japheth. And you got to make many of these Ham, Shem, or Japheth. You got to choose. You got to make these Ham. If this Japheth is you got to answer this. I want to see you answer this. I really want to see you answer this. Gjijk, is that Japheth or Shem? Is Gjijk Japheth or Shem? I'm not even at F. I'm not even at FM89. I'm at Gjijk, which is a person. Gjijk is a person. And what's important to note about Gjijk is that we ourselves need to consider, is this Ham or is this Japheth? Can you answer that? That's a very important question to ask yourself. It would change your life forever. I think that's one of the questions that would change many people's lives if they just realize if that's Ham, Shem, or Japheth. So if this is Japheth, everything underneath it is Japheth. See what I'm saying? That's what a monophyletic group is. This makes everything underneath it, but this doesn't make this. That's monophyletic because everything underneath this is monophyletic. Everything underneath this is one. These are different. These are different. So that's very important. They're from a far stem. And remember, like I said, right? 1, 2. That's what's important. This one doesn't have a common ancestor with this one. But this one has a common ancestor with this one. This one right here has a common ancestor with this one. But these ones don't. These ones have a common ancestor with F. You see? A little more. IJ and K has a common ancestor with IJK. They have a common ancestor. That's a common ancestor. Right? And T has a common ancestor with all these lineages. Every single one of them that's underneath it. With K9. Because it's the furthest down. T is not like an early branch. T is a later mutation. It's a later descendant. A descendant of a descendant of a descendant of a descendant 7 times. So you have to relate it to its breaks. You have to relate it to where it breaks. Because you can't count steps. And you can't just say T made itself. That's a fact. So if they have a common ancestor, that counts as a monophyletic group. That's a fact. So I hope that that gives some understanding for those little things. And it's nothing major today. Just having a conversation, whatnot. What's this pin? That amen, amen. That's one of the things that I wanted to look at. And just to clarify, yep, BTCT. That's gonna be the split. BTCT. That's gonna be the split. So with that, family, amen. So with that, if anything else, let me know. Otherwise, I just want to give some clarity for that, as it's super clear once you understand monophyletic groups. It's something you can't deny. Jensen had tried to pull, and Jensen showed us that IJ said, "Thou shalt not enter and call me Shemites." I'm a Japhanite. So just for the sake of truth and just for the sake of understanding, Yah is the God of truth, and we live for the truth. So if you want to see how it really breaks, this is how it breaks. CT and BT makes all the lineages underneath it. But I can also show you how sometimes you can find a CT and BT that are different ages, right? Because CT BT is actually the beginning of the split. That's the beginning of the split. But I can show you BT younger than CT. And I can show you CT older. Like for example, I think. Let me see. Is it this one? Not this one. And not this one. Let's just see where it's at. All right, so like right here, you can see where it says right there, BT. It say BT, right, with haplogroup A and everything in Northeast Africa approximately 50,000 years ago, right? So BT descends from haplogroup, right, A 55,000 years ago, right? BT 55,000 years ago, right? See different places that would talk about BT being 64 plus 6,000 years ago. Very important. But we can also note in certain places, right here, CT 71,000 years ago. So sometimes you'll see BT and CT different ages. So BT CT is about the same age. It's actually what I noticed is that BT CT is about the same age, and that's where you get all your splits. So you get all your groups. All your groups come from BT CT. All of them. All your groups. And if you notice, you can see the split. You see right here. What do you have over here? F. Everything under F is one. Everything under F, the split right here. Everything under F are one. Everything under F. And then you get a split right here. And what's interesting is, you get your split. This is your YAP lineage. You get your D and E lineages. You see what you got right there? You get a split and you get your D and E lineages that are related, your D and E. That's your YAP lineage. And then right here, you get another split of BC lineages right there, right? And that's also connected with BT for the A lineages that you see there. See what's going on there? Very, very deep, very, very, very deep. Very, 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 very deep. Now, what's interesting about it is that if you notice, it almost looks like B and C are with D, but notice the stem here. This is what you want to look at, the stem. Not just this part right here, but where it stems. Is it related on the stem? See how this stems out one stem? That's one stem, not multiple stems. That's one stem, and they're all related. See how it stems out? And then you get your F and G lineages and H lineages. This is another stem, your I and J lineages that Jensen says is Japhatic. He says that this is Japhatic. Well, look at this stem here. If this is Japhatic, what does that mean about this stem? What does that mean about if this is Japhatic and we have this stem here? What does that mean? And what about this? That's on this stem. G H I J G H. G and H. If F makes G and H, are these Japhatic or Shemitic? And they're on one stem, one family. That's very important. One stem, one family. They're all gonna be all Japhatic. That's important. And then your DE, this is your Yap lineage. And then your B and your A, these are actually going to be your Hamitic lineages. This is your Hamitic lineage. BT and CT is where it splits. That's very important. The only reason I put this already here because I already read this little paper and it talks about it. It just talks about the whole thing and whatnot. I gotta do some changing on some things though, like A00. A00 is not Shem. I used to think that was, but it's one of those ones that was confusing. Only because apparently it makes everyone. But I don't think it does. It's actually 0% of the tree. But, this is just one of those things. Like I already noted that T and L or T and J, they always try to make, but T and L is one of those ones I was noting. I was just noting for the season. Just noting for the sake of the truth. And apparently it was for a reason. But you know, this is like I was saying, certain ones is important to note because it says right here, haplogroups F through R, right? Which includes T, represents Europenoids, Caucasoids, right? Caucasians, right? Who arose 58,000 years ago before present. right? Caucasian, right? It doesn't necessarily mean light pigmentation. Caucasian just mean those above the Caucasus Mountain. That's what it means. They could be dark skinned with above the Caucasus Mountain. So it's very important. Very, very important. So, and you can notice, when you look at this, right here, it says in this little initial thing, which is represented to haplogroup BT in its classification, its current ancestor, see, 64,000 years ago and whatnot. It just talks about how BT, CT is about the same age. BT, CT is about the same age. Even though it's like right here on the chart, it talks about that one's higher, one's lower, but that's one of the things that basically they start making lineages right from them. They make their own lineages. They make their own lineages from them. So these are their own lineages, and these are lineages. It's important, but they're related. The reason why it's like that, they're just related. Like they're related. That's very important. That's very, very important. Because also note the biblical narrative. These long years, these 100,000 years and stuff like that. It's not how long it is. It's just they're just working with the scientific method. That's what you got to do sometimes. You got to work with the scientific method. Dr. Nathan Jeanson talks about it, and that's why he made a video of the whole world, because he knows the scientific method. If you use the scientific method, you can bring it to a good understanding of how long it actually is. But the only thing about Dr. Nathan Jeanson, he doesn't know about the Natufian. He doesn't know about the Natufian because he makes B and A, I mean A, E1B1B and E1B1A split way later than what's found. He makes them split way later than what's found. We find E1B1B 45,000 years ago on the scientific method. So he splits E and B. I mean, your E lineage. I think he doesn't know about the Natufian finds. I'm definitely sure he doesn't know about the Natufian finds. That's the thing about genetics. They know what's in the office. They don't know what's in the dirt. They don't know everything was in the dirt. They got to go and find those papers. And Dr. Nathan Jeanson talked about that. That's how he found out that J was Japhetic. That's how he found out that the haplogroup J was Japhetic, because he did a whole deep research on J's actual findings, which I talk about all the time, that they found out that they were ancient Turks and that they were actually an ancient Indo-European group. They were the Greeks. They were all types of different groups. That's very important. Before the Israelite period, before all the Israelite things and like that. And that's important. That's important because if we try to make them Jews, you meet all types of different errors. So he knew they were Japhetic. So he made them Japhetic. He made them Japheth. So, but he didn't understand. If he did understand, he can't go back now. If he made IJ Japhetic, that only makes IJK Japhetic as well. Let me show you. Like I said, what you see there is what you see. It's the truth. That means that if he made I and J Japhetic, and F makes all of these, IJ, which stems from F, and which makes I, J, and K, because all these underneath here is K, all underneath there is K, then they're all Japhetic. And that's what's the report. I'm gonna talk about another report that they have about this out of Africa idea not having enough proof. I'm gonna show you something a little later with that as well. But that's important because he makes us a weird. Look at this weird split. It's just a weird split. It's the oddest split. It looks, if you didn't understand it, it looks right on paper, but that's not how it splits. You can't go from H, go into F, and go and make these. That makes no sense genetically. But F makes things this way, right? And just the way that it's all connected, even this connection, this makes no sense. It doesn't even split like that. It makes no sense. But that's why we go over these things carefully. Why? Because in truth, Dr. Nathan Jeanson himself, if you ask him himself, if you made I and J Japheth, doesn't that mean I, J, K are Japheth? He would say, well, then you say it like that, that makes sense, because if IJ is Japheth and IJK are on the same branch, If I, J, K are on the same branch, that means everything underneath it. If you talk about in the scientific understanding, if you make it mono, if you make it all mono, one group, then technically they will all be one family. So that's very important. So remember about IJK are one. So that's very important. But I guess with that, it's just about going over these things carefully and studying them. Because I'm not saying Dr. Nathan Jason's a fool, but I'm saying that he made a horrible split. With this, if he actually knew about the Natufian finds, I have no doubt that he will understand the truth. I have no doubt. I have zero doubt that if he knew about the Natufian finds, he would understand what's going on. But he doesn't have the Natufian finds. He doesn't, because the Natufian finds, you got to first know about the Natufian, and you got to research who are the Natufian, and you got to research the migration, the real migration of the Natufian, and you got to find out their haplogroups. You got to get all that, and that's what we understand. We understand all about the Natufian. We understand it very well, and he doesn't have that. I'll tell you the truth. He does not have that information. He doesn't. But maybe one day it'll reach him. Who knows? But that's why I was showing this. I was showing this because it's important to know that it talks about how non-African haplogroups BT and CT do not descend from the African ones. So your A and B lineages, BT and CT, these don't descend from African haplogroups. As you can see, nothing descends into them. They are connected to themselves, BT and CT. So that's very important. So you can see where it talks about that and everything. It says the tree at the top shows one combined lineage of CT. So this up here is the combined lineage of CT. And it says, and the tree at the bottom shows an extended haplogroup BT. So this shows your BT, this shows your CT. It's very important. And that's what we was talking about when we was breaking it down, right? We was talking about how it splits. Let's see, right here. We was talking about how it splits and how this is over here is your F lineage, right? This is your F right there. It's your F lineage. All one. All these are one from one stem. If you cut this stem, all these will be gone. That's what it means by one family. If you cut it off right here, if you get rid of F, you will have none of these lineages. That's what it means. If F wasn't born, none of these lineages will be here. That's what it means. If you cut off F, that's the end of it. That's the end of it. Just like right here, right? These are all connected. So D and E1B1A and E1B1B are related. E1B1B and E1B1A are one. And they're one with D and E on one. That's very important. They're one lineage. And this is the only one that's YAP positive. That's how we know these aren't related to them. Because this is one stem and they're YAP positive. They have their own little thing going on that no other lineage has. It's very important. And that's what you want to look at an unrooted chart, because that's what real geneticists see. They don't see this. I understand what's going on here, but this is not how it breaks. This what you see on family tree DNA right here. At this point up here, this is not how it breaks. It actually goes in three directions. It goes in three directions, and they know it. It goes in three directions because if you take it from what you see, you'll see three directions, right? From right here, this is actually your split of BT and CT. This one actually they would say this is BT. This is BT, this is CT, right here. We know because from this split, you get three splits. See that three splits? 1, 2, 3. You can put a root right there and say that's the split right there. You could, without a doubt. Right here, you got your BT. You can put it in between these, BT and CT. You can put a root in between BT and CT because BT and CT is the beginning. Day was probably one. BT and CT were one. Most likely BT and CT were one. And then it split and then they made different lineages. Unless we have some controversy happening. But the best way to understand is BT, CT are one. Because they will be on one branch making different lineages, right? Even in a sense, you can say they split and they make their own lineages. BT, CT makes their own lineages. BT makes A and B, and CT makes D, E, and CF lineages. CF. And then you get your all the way down there T. You see how far that is? Way over there. You can't just go from CT to T. You can't just jump down like that because T is not from CT, directly from CT. T is from K. That's very important. And you can see right here on that little branch right there, actually right here. This is where they're related. Right here. NOPQRST are all related. Well, actually, even right here at L. Actually, right here. My bad. At M9. This is K, M9. They're all related. All these are related. I know it looks like a lot because it is a lot. It's because they all the mixing that was going on and the different bodies of peoples. They're actually it's actually now obviously when you look at the Y chromosome, it wouldn't look like letters, but it's because the mutations. There's so much mutation, so much different descendants. E group. This how we know it's Shemites because they are mostly related. They're highly related. They're almost like a control, like they're being raised controlledly, like they were raised forced together, and like the A lineages, they are of their own. But these are one as well. But look at us, right? That's T groups will look different than the J groups, and the J groups look different than the R groups, and the R groups look different than the Q groups, and Q groups look different than these. It's so different. Some of these are Japanese people, some of these are Asians, some of these are from islanders, but all of them are under one line. You see what I'm saying? Some of them are Indians, native Indians, right? I'll just give you a clue a little bit on the art. Like this is gonna be your Europeans, ancient Europeans. This is gonna be your from India. This is from like Finland and stuff like that, Scotland and stuff like that. Kind of a little bit Scotland in a way. This is your Greeks and stuff like that. Your Turks and stuff. Under K comes a very, very diverse group. Very diverse. That's from your Andaman Islands, or how you say Andaman Islands, but your islands all the way over there by Australia. So you got a lot of them over here, right? You get some of your Japanese and Chinese, well, Japanese Chinese, and you get some of the ones from that go overseas, right? Qs go overseas. Dr. Nathan Jensen talks about it too. Qs go overseas. They go overseas, and then you get your little groups. Look how large the upper area is. This area is compressed, right? It's all tight packed. This is very small, actually. It's a very small little area. But up here, they can spread out and really get diverse. So that's why J is like that, because J got really diverse. It got really far. It can get very diverse up here, right? He can really settle down and reach in some areas. And J ruled the North. J ruled the North. He ruled these areas. He ruled the North, right? That's why J is so diverse, because he ruled the North. That's why you have so many different subclasses of J, because he ruled the North. But Hamites were over here, and Shemites were over here as well. They was all in these different areas, being sent throughout different areas. But Japheth was up here, right, reaching in different areas, and we can relate his whole family to one stem. Though it looks large, it's not actually large. It's just diverse. It's just diverse. It's a lot of branches, but they all are under MK9. They're all related by one ancestor. It's probably the work of Yah, to be honest with you, to make it that divided. The reason why is just makes it clear what we're seeing there, that this is actually one lineage. That's a lot in one lineage, right? So, it's very deep when you think about that, when you think about those things. So always keep a note. Look at that. Look how much like the movements are. Just that, right? Your F, right? You get your R lineages, your O's moving around, right? No, N splitting over here, right? And what's your D lineage coming from? Because remember, D settled in Japan. D came from the land of Elam, spread all the way over there, and went over here and over here in these areas, deep in the region over there. That's very important. Connected with Elam. We can connect it all the way to the land of Elam, to Susa. All right. So it's very deep. It's very deep. So that's why I think understanding peopling is important, because I don't know, it opens up the mind. I think it opens up the mind. I think it opens up the mind. And those are all from the same line, from Shem, from J, right? But D is all one family, right? Your DE split, right? You got your CF that makes your J lineages, but your DE splits, you get your D lineages and you get your E lineages, and they're all related. Because look, you can see it's related because right here, you can see this is going to be split into your E2, this is your E1, and then over here, you'll actually start to get different splits, different splits, different splits. This is E1, B1C. This is going to be where you get your E1, B1B, right? And different ones. I think this is E1A, I think, right here, or this one. We'll go over here. That's unrooted. I mean, that's a circular chart. I can tell you how that splits too. This is the one that you ever see. There's a study that they use D0. They say, oh, they found some D0 in Nigeria. Those are living people that they found in Nigeria, not fossils. It's important to understand that they found some people in Nigeria, not fossils, but people. That's very important. But what's important is DE actually goes into Japan. So if D is over here and some went down here and some went to Japan, that's great migration. That shows that they're Shemites. That they themselves was over here and went and still stayed in the Levant, and some went over here. So they have connections and pinpointing to their location. It's like an X marks the spot to their location right there. That's the location Elam, right at the location, because they went into Africa and they went over here. So X marks the spot right there on Elam. That's a perfect migration that we see there. Perfect migration. So Shem, evidence of Shem going down, even in here, being these areas, E1, B1B, had a majority over here, right? Very important. And I'll talk about how E1, B1A went downwards, even down here early, and Helm was still all around these areas, but E1, B1A got cut off because of the desertization, and some of the E1, B1A was up here and went up into these areas. And we can find that on ancient genetics, and then find them in the Bronze Age and the Levant. Bronze Age, Levant. So that's why we go over this. We're gonna go over this information, because it's pretty deep. Pretty deep information. And that's why I suspected this. I suspected that D, E are Shemites, A and B are Hemites, and everything under F are Japhanites. Everything under F is Japhanites. Shoot, C is interesting. It might be Neanderthals. It might be the one that they call Neanderthal. It might be maybe an extra son from Noah. Who knows? Because remember, Noah, we don't know if he had extra children. C is just is an interesting one. The reason why is because C is like a split in his own, right? F doesn't directly make C. It's that, I think in a way it does. C F makes C, but C is like a separation between these ones. It's a separation between these ones. Um, and then obviously your Yap lineages aren't A and B lineages. A and B doesn't make your Yap lineages. So I guess I just wanted to talk about this. That note that they be changing stuff, right? One more time, look at this thing that I found. I just want to show you one more time, right? This was on Nature, where they said in Qatar, right? And where's Qatar? Qatar. I was saying that right. Where is that? Right? Why they want it to only be 2% in this area? In this area right here. They said only 2% of E1B1A is here. That's what they said. Look at that little island. They said only 2% of E1B1A is there. But on that report, it said that. On that report, it said only 2%. But on another report of the same topic of Qatar, right? I showed you on Nature how it showed only 2%. But on the information, talk about the genetic structure of those of the islands when they actually did the study, they themselves actually realized This. This is what. So let me actually change this a little bit. Only reason because I want you to see the date. The other one was from 2007, published in 2007, but brought out 2008, or I think published in 2008, or no, published in 2007 and then brought out 2008. But it had a claim trying to say, oh, that they're that 2% is just because of slave trade. But in 2014, they found Qatar at 23%. They found them on that little island, right? M2 right there, E3A, E1B1A, Qatar, 23%. These ones probably a little higher too. Most likely they're a little higher. So it's very important that they're in many places in the Middle East. These are Middle East areas. Haplogroup E has African origin, they say. Does anything or originate in Africa? Since its basal lineages are found among African pygmies and Bantu speaking populations modern day. It is difficult to interpretate the draw conclusions from this geographically widespread haplogroup. Oh, it's geographically widespread. Where is that? Recent studies identified the presence of E1B1A previously known as E3A-M2, which is defined by M2 mutation, right? Lineage in Oman, right? Right? You already know where that's at. That's over here. So they're right there. And in Yemen and in Arabia. They're here, 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 and here. Here, 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 and they're over here. Look up African, or what is it? Afro Iraq, Afro Iranians, or Afro even Iraqis. Mash, or I keep getting all twisted there. Marsh Arabs, or Afro Iranians. E is all in these areas. E is all in these. E1B1A is all in these areas. Afro Iranians, Siddis, Siddis. They over here, all the way over here, right past Pakistan, India. I can connect you E1B1A from here, 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 and here, and here. I can give you E1B1A all in the Levant. I can give you E1B1A all in the Levant, all in all these areas in the Levant. 23% over here, E1B1A. Could you imagine 23% of E1B1A in the Levant? How did they get there? 23% over here. What's going on with that? Marsh Arabs, Afro Iranians, what's that? Siddis. Even on the little paper that we're looking at here, that is saying what it's saying, right? Yemen, right? Qatar, Oman, the United Arab Emirates or group, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, larger than that actually, because you got to go to the Afro Iranians. You'll see more than that, way more than that. So, and that's one of the things that this peninsula, right? The presence of this lineage in the Arabian Peninsula is an indication of an ancient gene flow from, they say, from Africa. Does anyone come out of Africa? Does anyone come out of Africa in the Bible? Does anyone originate in Africa and come out of Africa? Come on now. They just don't want it to be, they don't want it to be Middle Eastern. So it's one of those things that, they don't want it to be. Haplogroup E is another Y chromosome haplogroup identified in the Arabian Peninsula. Haplogroup E is widely distributed across the Middle East, Africa, and the Mediterranean basin. Come on now. I'm telling you, it's all types of stuff like that that is clear. It's clear that there's a cover up going on, and they want to make it, instead of 23%, they took away the 3 and put 20. They put 2.8. That's what they did. This note was in the description yesterday, for basically about E. This is what this is. And we talked about that, how we found E3A in Syria. This is a study where they had made sure they had long generations there. That's what this study was. And I'm gonna show you this Sunday I'm gonna show you how we can find and the rotation. I'll show you the full rotation of how E1B1A got here. That they're not here in the Paleolithic. They're not here in the Paleolithic, the Neolithic, or the Mesolithic because they left their father's homeland, E1B1. They left their father's homeland and went down the Nile, down this area here, and that's why you see it like that. And they got separated by the desertization. And remember, biblical scale, right? We're talking a desertization that actually would have happened within the biblical scale, the timeline of the biblical scale. Probably, who knows exactly when? Right? Their biblical scale. Right? I don't think that would be what's his name, Joseph's dream or that little thing that happened at 7 years that happened. I don't think that's that. Might be another event that had happened, right? And the people went up. This is E1B1A, and this is a real genetics site. I'm contacting them for the information with the information. I'm actually contacting them and getting information. I don't know. They're taking a while to contact me, but when I get them, I'll talk about that when I give you the direct information. But this is a real. This is my true ancestry, or I think it's my true ancestry, something like that. And it's a real genetic site that people use. Multiple people use it. Multiple people use that site. Um, it's a famous site, pretty much. I'll show you something real fast. Uh, Someone's interesting results. I think they're interesting. He's even the other person. This person is E1B1B. I'm gonna show you something with someone that's E1B1B from that same site that the brother did. I put it on Synthetic Sunday right here. Is This one's My Heritage. We got right here. So this one's really interesting though because this individual, just gonna let it be. He says he originated here. He didn't originate there. That's not where people start. They all came from Mesopotamia. I'm gonna skip a little ahead. So he just talks about his autosomal results and everything. So just got some of his little lineage there. I think autosomal tests don't tell you much, but it's nice to note for migration patterns. It's really nice from see he's E1B1B. He's E-M81. So that's an interesting subclad. He's E-M81, which is basically this. So right here, you can see basically what you see here. It'll be basically, you can click this because you can see right here. This will be M81. That's what he basically is he's M81 and whatnot. So that's actually really interesting because when you're doing these tests, you can find out a lot of stuff, and it's interesting for history and stuff. And he connects it because he actually does this one right here, My True Ancestry. So he does it with all these sites, and he does it on My True Ancestry. And what's cool about My True Ancestry, that's what um, that's what that's what he used. That's what was used in this video. He used My True Ancestry, and that's what the results, and that's what it looks like. It looks like that. It's one of those things that you know they dot it on the charts and stuff. You know, it's really interesting. It's really interesting. So we'll talk about it. We'll talk about the finds that he found and stuff because it's really deep finds. So really interesting, really interesting, areas. You know, even all the like. That's one of the things that having E1B1B is really interesting because it reveals some major secrets. That's why I had to review his thing, because he himself having E1B1B E1B1A on that video. He's a source himself. He himself is a source, right? When someone's E1B1A and they find out some evidence like that, they themselves become a source. They themselves is a source. So he himself is a source. So that's what this is. So the life is in the blood, and it opened up the doors to some information that is quite solid, even with the migration pattern. It's gonna be quite solid, quite important that they all actually link to here. People don't start in Africa. That's where people go wrong, where they try to go with the out of Africa idea. That's where they go wrong. Then they can't see what is a Shemite because they're stuck in the world's illusion, saying that people started in Africa. That's not true. See, shalom, shalom, family, shalom, shalom. Sorry, Fogadar, fine and bro. I got you. I got you, family. I got you. I got you. On that fine, this one's deep. But I put this on the one yesterday with some other stuff. This one right here. This is haplogroup E family, and it should be on the sources yesterday. It should be on the sources yesterday. We'll just go to it real fast. Yesterday, that was I had to watch that live over again, and I was just taking notes. I always do that. Every time I do a live or something like that, I take notes and whatnot, because you always can learn, always can refine, always can get deep in some things. But here's the note to write. Maybe I didn't add it. I think I didn't add it. Let me see. Let me click this to see. I think I didn't add it. Yeah, I didn't add it. I'll put it right underneath this one. I'm gonna put it right underneath it. I'll add the whole note. And then if you go to the note, you'll see, when you go to it, you'll see this video there and everything and whatnot. Sunday is gonna be a major breakdown of it. It's gonna be deep because it's clear. It's absolutely clear. That's why you see this like this. You see this, all these little areas. All this was like, it's not that far. That's why you see some here going into here, right? Some have reached in these areas. Some went downwards. It's not that far. This is actually not a long walk. That's not a long walk. It's not a long migration. That's a very short migration. It's just really interesting to note that that's the homeland of the E1B1B lineages. That's why you find so many E's there. Massive amount of E's. So many E's there. There's a lot of E's. These individuals are connected, and they know they're connected by um, information, by actual documentation, by historical records, and knowing that they've been there for a while. In fact, I'm gonna click it real fast, and what it says, it talks about the generations. See if this thing search. I don't know if it searches the way that it should. You know, you can see a lot talked about here. Let's talk about the Neolithic spread, or the dependent Greek expansion and stuff like that. Different things. Let's see, where's oh, see what it's saying here. Here, data from Levion are available. We collected 130 100 1,330 additional DNA samples from Syria, Palestine, and these other areas, right? Males with at least 3 generations of indigenous ancestry. So they got to be in that land for at least 3 generations, at the least. So they put living people with what they have. So it's a deep read. I think you'll understand it just by going over it. It's a deep read. So it's just a little bit there, and then they got your information right there, PDF. You click the PDF, and boom, you got the information to what they found there. Haplogroups, right? The population, haplogroup, and haplotypes of new population study for this study, and the Phoenician footprints in the Mediterranean, and there it is, right? You're not going to always have those pretty lists where you have the E1, B1, or a E lineage, or your Y chromosome and a X chromosome, but sometimes you get lucky and find those. Those are nice to find because then you got Y's and you got Y DNA and you got MT DNA. So you can see this is going to be your K groups too, and not. So obviously you got like all types of different groups there. But the fact is that we have E's in the Levant. That's the fact. The fact is that for someone to say there's no E's in the Levant is ridiculous, right? Because there's a lot of E's up there. That's where they started. It was one of those things. This is one of those things. So that's I'll add that to the description. In fact, I'll add it right now. I can see I didn't share it because I didn't even put on share. Okay. Yeah, I'll add this after the live. I add this after the live. But family, it's quite amazing. When you start putting this stuff together and realize this stuff it gets deep. Yep, to be a typo. So I was just tell you that. Doesn't it seem like a typo? You would think it was a typo. You would think it was a typo, but I don't think it was a typo. I think it was one of those things that if you look at it, how it what and remember the typo. Go back to that one real fast. Check this out, right? The typo is you can see right here 2.8 in Qatar, right? On nature, what they missed the three. They missed to put the three there. But really, to be honest with you, this was probably a guess because the later study was in 2014. That's what this is the copyright. Well, 2013, 2010, and this came out rather 2013. I'm glad I looked at that again. 2013, and right on their thing, they say on their thing, a little down, because remember, all the lot where a lot of lineages come from, right? Even Dr. Nathan Jensen tells you the J lineage came from the Seljuk Turks that conquered the Middle East, but the E lineage are known as Arabs. He even says Dr. Nathan Jensen says the E1B1B are the Arabs, right on that video of what is it? The world, basically recreating the world, something like that. But look at that, Qatar 23.8, right? What he mess up and put three is one of those things that is already verified. Put in the PDF, they cross checked it, they're looking at it. They're making sure what's going on this thing, and noting it. That's deep. But there's more examples like that of them altering information. There's more examples like that. They want it to look like it's a small lineage in the Middle East, but it's not. It's a large lineage. It's just that they're not trying to bring the information out. When you start seeing a lineage that looks like it never been in the Middle East, you got to question that because the biblical narrative already debunks that. Everyone, every single lineage was out of Africa. Every single one. There's no lineage that started in Africa. There's some lineages that are dominant and were in Africa, but you'll still find them outside of Africa. That's what I was talking about with A00. A00 was outside of Africa. It's very important in ancient times, ancient times. So it's one of those things. And this lineage. We're gonna talk about this lineage too because it's connected to the Green Sahara, to that event that happened. This what I'm gonna talk about. This event that had happened that caused the people to basically, you can see right there, cause them to go upwards, cause them to leave some of these areas. See, some of this place probably turn dry as well. You can cause a lot of people to go up. in different areas, leave different areas. They went over here, and over here. They had left. So it's a really interesting journey. But now that you understand monophyletic groups, right, that's going to be very important to understand that IJK are all related. So that means that they are not the Jews. They are not, because they can't never agree. No one can agree and make them all one. No one wants to make them one. They just want to keep doing what they're doing. Pick one or two, a few lineages, but not make them monophyletic, because that would throw everything off. But yeah, that's what we're gonna talk about. We're gonna talk about that, and it's gonna be some deep notes. It's gonna be some very deep notes, stuff I haven't brought out yet. Very deep stuff, or even so, even some stuff I brought out. But you know how it goes. Let's see. I can always guarantee the type because you're not reading the figure off the actual original paper. But literature review, one else wrote, other make a genius, though it does not. Let's see. It doesn't take a genius to know into does not make up a quarter of a typo. I understand. Nah, sorry, it's not a typo. It's just hidden information. That's what it is. Well, it's not. What was that? What was that? Right, you're correct. There was that. Nah, I think that's agreement of misinformation. That's what I think. I think it's an agreement of misinformation. That's why you gotta look at those things carefully. You gotta look at those things carefully. So that's the type of stuff that I look at carefully. It's something that no one can say nothing to me. I see it. I see it in my eyes. I see it in my own eyes. So it's always something going on. It's always something going on. So again, for clarification, everyone started out over here, right? And Shemites and Japhanites, Shemites and Hamites crossed paths. So you can see right there, Shemites will even go down. Shemites and Japhanites, you can see right here, they cross paths. So you can see Ham in some of these places. You can see right there, sons of Ham over here. See what's going on there? They cross paths. That's what happened. They dwelt amongst each other. This is something that happened. It was very, very, very important to note that. Very, very important. So Sunday. We're going to talk about the origin of E and its migration, and with the evidence of its settlements, different evidence of the areas where it's settled, and obviously knowing its homeland and everything. It's actually the movements of the Shemitic language. It's very important. It's very deep too. Very, very deep. That's why they always talk about the haplogroup common in the Tufian, E1B1B, is found frequent in our database, with most lineages, obviously, being, you see, 8,000, 7,000 KYA. Though we also find a rare deep one, right? A deep lineage that's actually 39 KYA. But we found one that's 45,000 years ago, right? 40 plus thousand years ago of E1B1B. So in this area, which we talked about, right? We had talked about that ancient lineage that they found in ancient what's that place? Um, you know, what is it? The place in Levant, right? That little mountain. Oh, I can't open the file. That's all right. But that place in Levant, the place in Levant where we found E lineage, right here, in Mount Carmel, we have found that ancient E lineage there. That's that one that he was talking about that was there for a long time. Fossil record of the Natufians, right? That was found at Mount Carmel. So very, very, very interesting. Very interesting find, right? In the Middle Paleolithic layers, right, of the Natufian finds. Very, very deep. So with that, this is one of those things that is gonna be one of those things where we're gonna get deep into when we go into it, and we'll talk about some interesting things, such as the E1B1B lineages that were found with blue eyes. Some of them have blue eyes, And we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the ones that have blue eyes and stuff. Some of the E1B1B lineage have blue eyes. And I'm gonna show you that when it talks about the alleles and what they found. They said they found the E1B1B with blue eyes, right? Some very, very deep stuff. Very, very interesting to get into. Very, very interesting. We'll talk about that in season. We'll talk about that in season. Amen. So let's see. Correct. It was our group because they focus on there. What? Let's see. That's time. You live tomorrow. Let's see. So it won't be tomorrow, but it'll be Sunday, and I'll be live 3 p.m. Central Time as always. But if I'm live tomorrow, 3 p.m. Central Time. Yeah. Yep. So just so you know, Yah's gonna judge you if you call any of your brothers a fool. Understand, we study genetics, but if you start getting out of your body like that, your judgment is between the Most High. So beware your behavior. Beware your behavior. Beware yourself with that. All right. Very close to hellfire with that one. So beware. Beware that madness. And for your sake, I'm gonna put you on timeout for your own sake. So you gotta be careful with some of these brothers. Some of these brothers don't know how to act. They don't know how to act. The point is that the fact is that the information, you got to look at the information carefully. That's what you got to look at. And you can note that you're going to find stuff like that. Is it not? Is it, even if it doesn't matter what it is? Is a typo? Yes, indeed. It's a change of information. Yes, indeed. And you know that they're altering information. You know that they're hiding stuff. That's why we're bringing this stuff out, right? Look at what Ben, look what he felt. Look what the brother found. Let me see, where is that? Over here. In fact, I'll probably up here. Look what the brother found. In the Bronze Age, he found a few Israelites over here. And why? Why do we find a bunch of Israelites over there? And where? And why is this not talked about? And why is this genetic site that's an official genetic site actually have this information, but no one else has this information? Why do we not have any of this information? Right? I'm contacting I'm contacting that genetic site to try to get this information, the actual real information for it, the pin codes and all those things and whatnot. But this is it. No, that's where they are, the Bronze Age, and that's one of those things that people say they're not there. They're not there. I keep saying that the information, and they're altering information, hiding information, and you get all these individuals supporting their confusion. They support their confusion and don't even look at what's actually going around them. Don't want to put the groups in monophyletic groups. Don't want to put it in a monophyletic group, but want to pick one or two groups under IJK. That's what they want to make Jews. Underneath IJK, they want to make something in there, IJK, a Jew, but don't want to make it monophyletic. So that's the world we live in. That's the type of world we live in. It's crazy. It's crazy what you see. So up there as your goes. Yeah, yeah. See, that's the thing. You gotta be careful with some of these. Some of these got mouths like serpents. Like they don't know how to act. And they think that is all about just, oh, genetics. Forget about the most high. Keep the way first. Keep the way first. If you can't keep the way, everything you're doing is vain. Everything you're doing is vain. Every single thing. It don't matter if you know who's the Israelites. If you're not keeping the way, everything you're doing is vain. So very important. The fact is, you got to find some stuff. You got to find some stuff that's interesting. So found a quote that's misquoted is a fact. It doesn't matter if you what you want to say about it. It's a fact. It is a misquoted thing that was at a college. It was at a college and it was misquoted. So you got to look at these things very carefully. So that's what we're gonna do Sunday. And if someone disagree and they think that something else is Jews, show us what's the Jews, so that we can make it monophyletic. And let's look and see who are the Jews. And we'll compare it honestly. We'll put it toe to toe the truth, and we'll see what comes out in truth. I guarantee you, no one's gonna connect G to none of the groups. Yet they'll say G is part of the Ashkenaz. And there's no one that's gonna make this monophyletic. I guarantee you. They'll never make this monophylactic. They'll never make it monophylactic. And they'll never make IJK monophylactic with everything over here. They're not going to, with everything over here. They're not going to make IJK monophylactic with anything over here. But they'll say that they're related. They'll say that these are Jews and some R1A are Jews, but won't make it monophylactic. They won't. They won't make it go from its root, IJK. They won't. They won't make it connect. So that's very important. That's very important. So if anyone ever wants to use that, understand they have to go with that concept, the fact of a monophyletic group. Very important. That's what and that's what it's all about. It's about making sure we bring out truth and examine these things doubtlessly. Doubtlessly, this is definitely some interesting things. So with that, I guess if anyone has any questions, let me know. Otherwise, with that, family, that's all I got. That's pretty much all I got. I just wanted to have a little holy conversation today, just talk about some things and, just give some order to what is a monophyletic group and, what's going on. So I guess to summarize what I just did today, as I know it might be kind of long sometimes, and sometimes some brothers come in last at the end, like, is it worth watching the whole thing or anything like that? I mean, it might not be. We just had a little holy conversation. But for those that it matters to, what we basically did was show that R, Q, and T are all monophylactic with KM9. J and I are all monophylactic with, actually, I didn't put it underneath it. It's all monophylactic with, let's make this smaller. Let's make it, obviously, actually, I put it right there. I don't know why I put those right there. They're monophylactic with IJ, right? IJ is monophylactic with IJ, right? These are all one. And then you obviously got your G, which if you make that monophylactic, all of these are monophylactic. If you make G monophylactic, if you take its root, right? That's why I was showing that. If you take G right there at its root, all those are monophylactic. All of them are underneath. All these are underneath GHIJK. GHIJK is a person. So that's very important. That's very important to know. So, and that's what we did. So these all will be monophylactic. 70 to 80 to 90% of Jews, if you take them at their root, they're all monophylactic. They're all one. They're one people. But you got to ask yourself, is it Shem or is it Japheth? It's Japheth. Because that E1B1B lineage that they have 30 to 20% usually, sometimes 10% in the different groups of them, that one, to make that monophylactic, you have to connect it with CT. And to connect those and make that all monophylactic with these, that means that CT will be Shemites, all Shemites. But no one agrees with that. No one thinks that CT is all Shemites. They think there's a divide somewhere. It is. But is that this, all are one under CF. I mean, all these are one. All these are one. In fact, let me put it here. All these are one by F-M89. All these are one by F-M89. All these are one by F-M89, let alone GHIJK. But they're all one under F-M89. They're all CF. These are all CF lineages. Pretty much, I'll just put that right there. These are all CF lineages. I'll just make it as big as. All CF. I'll refer back to this when we get somebody that's saying Jews are J and Jews are F and stuff like that, and I'll reflect back to this because I know what's going to happen. I know how this world is. We got a lot of people that's sold to the nonsense, so we'll have to rephrase things, and we'll come back to this and give them understanding for what this is. So you'll understand completely what this is when we come back, if we ever have to come back to this. If we ever have to. I'm just going to save that. All right. So it's very important to understand what is a monophyletic group. Very important. Very, very important to understand. Well, so with that, family, just remember what is an unrooted chart. A and B are Hamites, D and E are Shemites, and C and F are all Japhanites. So with that, family, keep your eyes open and be blessed, be beloved, and amen.